Chapter 41. 200 million Divine Great Spirit Stones. The voice wasn't loud, but it was loud enough to reach everyone's ears. Everyone was stunned as they turned to look at private room number 2. What, 200 million? Even the Long family's young Lord Long Hungfing was shocked. Quickly check who's in private room number 2. He ordered the 2 Long family experts behind him. Both of them complied. Everyone in the hall was shocked by the 200 million Divine Great Spirit Stones. Inside private room number 1, Lu Yiping was also surprised. He glanced at private room number 2 and smiled faintly. Primordial True Dragon Bloodline? Interesting. At this time, the young man in private room number 2 was drinking the wine provided by the Chamber of Commerce. He smiled faintly. 200 million Divine Great Spirit Stones is enough to shock these country bumpkins. The subordinate behind him laughed. 200 million Divine Great Spirit Stones is nothing to young lord. But to these people, it's not something they can gather even if they sell everything they have. The young man smiled. Although this myriad god token is useless to me, I can still hang it up and admire it after I buy it. Spending 200 million Divine Great Spirit Stones to buy the myriad god token was to hang it up and admire it. Right at this time an indifferent voice sounded. 1 billion Divine Great Spirit Stones. The moment the voice sounded, the hall that was in an uproar because of the 200 million Divine Great Spirit Stones suddenly quieted down as everyone turned to look at private room number 1 in shock. The one who spoke was none other than Lu Yiping. Inside private room number 2, the young man coughed violently, choking on the wine in his mouth. The Long family's young Lord Long Hungfing was equally shocked. The young man in private room number 2 no longer had the same indifferent smile as before. His voice was low and deep. 1 billion Divine Great Spirit Stones? It's said that this Lu brat obtained the Holy Demon and Father Time's treasures. Looks like it's true. He looked at private room number 1 with cold eyes. Suddenly light surged from his body as sword rays shot out. These sword rays turned into divine dragons. Sword of Will. Sword of Heavenly Dragon. These sword dragons were terrifyingly fast. They directly pierced through the restriction between the 2 rooms and suddenly attacked Lu Yiping. Furthermore, these sword dragons did not cause any spatial fluctuations at all. The people outside actually did not feel the power of the sword dragon. Lu Yiping coldly snorted as he looked at the tens of thousands of sword dragons charging towards him. A formless energy that could destroy the heavens and the earth was born. Instantly, the tens of thousands of sword dragons collapsed. In VIP room number 2, the young man suffered a backlash from the heavenly dragon sword. He felt as if his mind had been struck by a giant hammer. His throat heated up and he spat out a mouthful of golden blood. Then he sprayed again. He spat out 3 mouthfuls of blood in a row. Young master. His subordinate turned pale with fright. The young man looked at VIP room number 1 with an equally shocked expression. Initially he was enraged and wanted to use the Sword of Will to erase Lu Yiping. Who would have thought that this Lu Yiping actually? Lu Yiping said indifferently, little guy, if it weren't for your old ancestor, you would already be a dead man. If there is a next time, even your old ancestor won't be able to protect you. Aobai was even more shocked hearing Huang Xiaolong's words. You know my heavenly dragon divine country's old ancestor. Lu Yiping did not say another word. Impossible. How could he know my heavenly dragon divine country's old ancestor? Aobai was bewildered. Their old ancestor had not left the divine country for many years. Even his grandfather hadn't seen their old ancestor for many years. Their old ancestor had been cultivating in the primordial dragon tomb. Even his grandfather wasn't sure if their old ancestor was still alive. Who are you? Aobai couldn't help asking. Who am I? You can go back and ask your old ancestor. Lu Yiping said nonchalantly. Aobai was even more bewildered. He even suspected that this Lu Yiping was playing tricks on him, but looking at Lu Yiping's demeanor it didn't seem like it. The people outside had no idea what was going on inside the room. After that, no one dared to compete with Lu Yiping. The 10,000 divinity order was won by Lu Yiping. When the divine Great Spirit Stones were handed over, Lu Yiping flicked his finger, and the divine Great Spirit Stones flew through the glass in the room, falling onto the auction stage. A divine Great Spirit Stone was a big piece. Each piece was as big as a mountain, and could be cut into 100 million pieces. a total of 10 pieces. However, these 10 pieces of divine grade spirit stones were shrunk to the size of a fist by Lu Yiping. Looking at the 10 pieces of divine grade spirit stones that were as big as a mountain, the shock in everyone's heart was indescribable. These are divine grade origin stones. The white flame sword gate's patriarch's throat trembled. Origin stones were naturally formed stones that had not been cut or processed. Therefore, the spiritual energy contained in them was better preserved. Such a big piece of divine grade origin stone was rare in the world, and its value far exceeded 1 billion. After paying the spirit stones, the Chamber of Commerce presented the 10,000 Divinity Order to Lu Yiping. Holding the 10,000 Divinity Order, Lu Yiping's divine sense penetrated the 10,000 Divinity Order's array core without the slightest hindrance. A moment later, he withdrew his divine sense. As he had expected, the array inside the 10,000 Divinity Order had not been activated for many years. There were a total of 1,000 layers inside the 10,000 Divinity Order, and only one person had entered the 300th layer. Next, a piece of stone was auctioned. The stone was as tall as a person. Its surface was bumpy. This stone is also from the ancient era. After absorbing spiritual energy for countless years, a jade essence has been formed inside the stone, and this jade essence has already reached the true God realm. The auctioneer Chanduan said. The crowd was shocked. A true God realm jade essence. In other words, once this jade essence was born, it would be a true God realm expert. However, Lu Yiping was not interested in this stone. In the end, this stone was won by the Long family's young lord, Long Hungfeng. The third item of the auction was a stock of 200,000 years old spiritual herb. 100,000 years old spiritual herbs were rare, but they could be seen occasionally. However, 200,000 years old spiritual herbs were hard to come by. In the end, this stock of 200,000 years old spiritual herb was won by the Medicine King Hall's Yuexine. Next up is the last item of the auction. The auctioneer Chanduan said with a smile. When the auctioneer took out a piece of 7-colored jade, Lu Yiping's face sank, and killing intent surged in his eyes. This is the legacy jade? Someone exclaimed in shock. That's right, this is the legacy jade. The auctioneer, Chanduan, laughed. The Lord of Universe's legacy jade. This legacy jade was actually given to the Lord of Universe by Lu Yiping, and the Lord of Universe refined it into a life divine artifact. The importance of a life divine artifact to the owner went without saying. It was impossible for the Lord of Universe to take out his life divine artifact to auction. Unless the Lord of Universe was already killed by someone, only then would the life divine artifact be taken out for auction. Chapter 42. The Legacy Jade. It's a defensive divine artifact. Moreover, it's a sole defensive divine artifact, a rarity in this world. Moreover, this legacy jade contains a divine art that has been passed down since ancient times. Comprehending and cultivating it, there's a high chance of surpassing the Lord of Heaven and Earth. Host Chun Rui said with a smile. However, the person who commissioned the auction said that this legacy jade will only be sold in divine-grade spirit stones. Just as the auctioneer Chan Rui was about to introduce the Jade of Legacy, Lu Yiping's hand reached out, and the Jade of Legacy on the auction stage flew into private room number 1. Everyone was stunned. Lu Yiping want it too? Master Lu, isn't this against the rules? Host Chan Rui's smile froze on his face. Lu Yiping's cold voice sounded. Who commissioned this legacy jade to be auctioned by your Chamber of Commerce? Although his voice was calm, everyone could feel Lu Yiping's intense killing intent. Host Chan Rui's face sank. Master Lu, are you trying to break our Chamber of Commerce's rules? Although you're our Chamber of Commerce's honored guest, if you break our Chamber of Commerce's rules, then we can only... What? Lu Yiping interrupted coldly. Host Chan Rui choked. Moments later, the Heavenly Secret Chamber of Commerce's branch president, Sun Lishuan, walked over with sweat beading on his forehead. Master Lu. Sun Lishuan pushed open the door and was about to speak when a terrifying devouring force emerged from Lu Yiping's body, pulling him in front of Lu Yiping. Sun Lishuan was aghast. He was an early-stage true God realm expert, yet he was powerless before this terrifying force. He raised his head in fear and saw a flicker of lightning in Lu Yiping's eyes. In the next second, Sun Lishuan lost consciousness. Lu Yiping directly searched Sun Lishuan's soul. Soon the soul search ended. Lu Yiping's eyes glimmered. From Sun Lishuan's memories, he knew that the person who commissioned this legacy jade and the 10,000 divinity token were the same person, and that person wore a ghost mask. The same person. The 10,000 divinity token. Now it was the legacy jade. Sun Lishuan quickly regained consciousness. Seeing Lu Yiping's face filled with killing intent, he was alarmed and bewildered. Master Lu Yu. He couldn't figure out why Lu Yiping would suddenly have such a strong killing intent after the appearance of the legacy jade. Could it be related to the Lord of Heaven and Earth? However, the Lord of Heaven and Earth was a figure from more than 200,000 years ago. That was 8 eras ago. How could Lu Yiping be related to the Lord of Heaven and Earth from 8 eras ago? While Sun Lishuan was still in shock, Lu Yiping said to the auction house crowd, I bid 1 billion for the legacy jade. Is there anyone willing to bid higher? The experts present looked at each other in dismay. However, he did not make a sound. Lu Yiping flicked his finger, and 10 mountain-sized divine-grade raw stones flew through the glass in the room and landed on the auction stage. Then, he left the secret chamber of commerce with Zhang Jin and the others. Sitting in the war chariot, Lu Yiping tightened his grip on the legacy jade, his killing intent increasing instead of decreasing. Taurus Longjiao looked at the legacy jade, his eyes filled with killing intent as he said, It seems that those people are really courting death. After so many years, they still haven't given up. Lu Yiping's voice seemed to float out from the depths of hell. Even if they hide in the Jiutian underworld, or the Holy Land, I will still find them one by one and extract their souls. Taurus Longjiao nodded, then pulled Lu Yiping back to the mansion. Back in the mansion, Lu Yiping suddenly made a grabbing motion toward the void. Eye of reincarnation, appear for me. A giant vortex appeared in the void, and at the center of the vortex was an eye that seemed to contain the life and death of all living beings in the world. Lu Yiping reached his hand into the void vortex, as if he was searching for something. After a long time, Lu Yiping stopped. The eye of reincarnation and the eye of reincarnation disappeared. The killing intent in Lu Yiping's eyes grew stronger. The night passed. Lu Yiping stood outside the pavilion for the entire night. Master, the Wan family patriarch Wan Cheng outside wants to see you. Zhang Jin came in and said cautiously. Lu Yiping noticed Zhang Jin's choice of words. He didn't ask for an audience but wanted to see him. Bring him in. Lu Yiping's voice was calm. Outside the mansion, Wan family patriarch Wan Cheng waited for a while. Seeing that only Zhang Jin came out and Lu Yiping was missing, he frowned. My master said he can see you. Come with me. Zhang Jin said after coming out. When the Wan clan's patriarch Wan Cheng heard this, he felt even more unhappy in his heart. However, he still suppressed the unhappiness in his heart and followed Zhang Jin into the mansion. When he arrived at the courtyard, he saw Lu Yiping. When he saw the blue-robed youth in front of him, he was bewildered. Lu Yiping glanced at Wan family patriarch Wan Cheng and asked, Why do you want to see me? Why? Wan family patriarch Wan Cheng saw that Lu Yiping didn't even bother with pleasantries and directly asked him what he wanted, and the unhappiness that he had suppressed rose up again. No matter what, he was still the patriarch of the Wan family, and his father was the master of Shenwu continent. The entire continent belonged to his Wan family. This Lu Yiping was actually treating him with such an attitude. Lu Yiping, how do you know my Wan family's gold flame divine fist? Is the real copy of my Wan clan's golden flame godly fist on you? Wan family patriarch Wan Cheng asked in a deep voice. Did you obtain my great-grandfather Wan Yuji's inheritance? Wan Yuji? Lu Yiping's expression was indifferent. The manual of the gold flame divine fist is indeed on me. He paused for a moment before continuing, however. Who said that the gold flame divine fist belongs to your Wan family? When Wan family patriarch Wan Cheng heard Lu Yiping say that the gold flame divine fist did not belong to his Wan family, he became even angrier. The entire Hengyuan plain knew that the gold flame divine fist was the Wan family's secret technique. His eyes blazed as he stared at Lu Yiping. Are you saying that you don't intend to return the gold flame divine fist to my Wan family? Return it. Lu Yiping laughed. You're right, I've never thought of returning it. The patriarch of the Wan clan, Wan Cheng, was enraged. However, when he saw the 4 people behind Lu Yiping, He suppressed the anger in his heart and said, "My father wants to invite you to our Wan clan as a guest. He wants to see you." Lu Yiping grunted. "I understand." He then added, "You can go back now." Wan family patriarch Wan Cheng was stunned. What did Lu Yiping mean by this? "When I feel like going to the Wan family, I'll go there," Lu Yiping said. Wan family patriarch Wan Cheng's expression turned ugly. His father, Wan Wudi, the master of Shinwu continent, had sent him over to invite Lu Yiping, but Lu Yiping had actually said that he would go there when he felt like it? Did he mean that it would depend on his father's mood? Was that what he meant? On Shinwu continent, his father's words were the supreme decree, and no one had ever dared to defy him. Even the Big Dipper Empire's emperor, Zhou Dingtian, would immediately rush to the Wan family if his father wanted to see him. Now Lu Yiping had actually said that he would go there when he felt like it. Chapter 43. Lu Yiping, don't go too far. The Wan family's patriarch, Wan Cheng, could no longer suppress his anger. He shouted at Lu Yiping, "Even a godchild from the Jiuqian would not dare to be impudent in front of my father. Who do you think you are? What are you thinking? Go to my Wan family again. Do you think my Wan family is a place where you can go whenever you want?" The more Wan family's patriarch spoke, the angrier he became. His father, Wan Wudi, was the #1 expert of the Shinwu continent and ranked 4th among the top 10 experts of the Hengyuan Plain. Even the founder of the Tai sect and the #1 expert of the Hengyuan Plain, Jiang Yu, did not dare to slight his father. Just as the sound of Wan Cheng's voice faded, he suddenly saw a terrifying aura gushing out from Lu Yiping's body. High up in the air, without any warning, thunder rumbled and lightning flashed. The clouds changed color as a destructive might envelop the entire space, as though doomsday was coming. Wan Cheng turned pale with fright. Scram! Lu Yiping's voice boomed like thunder. Boom! The endless space-time trembled. Wan Cheng himself was sent flying as if he had been struck by an apocalyptic blow. He crashed outside the mansion, his 7 orifices bleeding. Even his eyes were bleeding. The Wan family's experts guarding outside were shocked when they saw their patriarch fly out with blood flowing out of his orifices. Patriarch! The Wan family's experts panicked. Wan Cheng ignored the bloodstains on his body and looked fearfully in the direction of Lu Yiping's courtyard. What audacity! That Lu Yiping and his subordinates actually dared to attack you. One of the Wan family's ancestors was furious and was about to charge in. The Wan family's patriarch, Wan Cheng, anxiously pulled back the Wan family's ancestor. Exasperated, "Stop!" The Wan family's experts looked at Wan Cheng, who stammered, "I did it myself." He did it himself? Everyone looked at Wan Cheng, who was bleeding from his 7 orifices. "Let's go back first," Wan Cheng said. He did not bother to take any pills, nor did he explain further. He just turned and left. The Wan family's experts stared at Wan Cheng's departing figure in astonishment. At this moment, the thunder and lightning in the sky disappeared without a trace. The wind was gentle and the sun was bright. After the Wan family's patriarch Wan Cheng left, Lu Yiping returned to his room and started cultivating the longevity secret art. When the Wan family's patriarch Wan Cheng returned to the Wan family, he went to the ancestral land to see Wan Wudi. He stammered, "Father, Lu Yiping said that he can come whenever he wants to." Wan Wudi was surprised, and his eyes turned cold. "The Golden Flame Godly Fist manual is indeed on him, but... The Wan family's patriarch Wan Cheng stammered. "But what?" Wan Wudi's eyes blazed with golden flames. However, he said that the Golden Flame Godly Fist doesn't belong to our Wan clan. The Wan family's patriarch Wan Cheng lowered his head and said in a low voice, "Furthermore, he said that he had never thought of returning the manual to our Wan family." Suddenly, an invincible aura erupted from Wan Wudi's body. Affected by Wan Wudi's invincible aura, the Wan family's ancestral land shook. The Wan family's patriarch, Wan Cheng, retreated in shock. "Father, you broke through?" Wan Wudi nodded. The Wan family's patriarch, Wan Cheng, was pleasantly surprised, but when he recalled Lu Yiping's terrifying aura, his heart palpitated with fear. He hesitated, then said, "Father, that Lu Yiping is very strong. His strength should be at the heavenly god realm. I'm afraid he's not weaker than you, father." Wan Wudi was dumbfounded. Heavenly God Realm? You're saying that Lu Yiping might be a Heavenly God Realm expert? He didn't dare to believe it. The Wan family's patriarch Wan Cheng recalled the scene and said, "This I'm not very sure." He then recounted the scene to Wan Wudi in detail. Wan Wudi's eyes widened in shock, and he muttered, "I didn't expect this Lu Yiping to have such strength." Then, he added confidently, however, there are differences in strength between Heavenly God Realm experts. Even if he's a heavenly god, I'm confident I can suppress him. When he comes to my Wan family's ancestral land, with the help of the ancestral land's power, suppressing him will be a piece of cake. Several days passed. On this day a piece of news spread. The Netherworld Devil Sect has confirmed that their ancestor Su Xiao is dead. The moment the news came out, it was like a stone that caused 1,000 ripples. The Netherworld Devil Sect's ancestor Su Xiao was dead. And now Lu Yiping had Su Xiao's token. The Long family's young lord Long Hongfeng sneered when he heard the news. Since it's confirmed that Su Xiao is dead, the Netherworld Devil Sect will make a big move soon. The Long family's expert beside him laughed. The Yin Ghost Sect's experts are already investigating if he's from the Zhouqian. I believe there will be news soon. I heard that the Dark Demon Hall has confirmed that Grand Elder Sword Demon, Shilai, was killed by him. I'm afraid the Dark Demon Hall won't let this matter rest. Netherworld Devil Sect, Yin Ghost Sect, and the Dark Demon Hall. Even the Extreme Celestial Gate would have to retreat. However, we have to find a way to get the Golden Flame Divine Fist manual before the Netherworld Devil Sect, Yin Ghost Sect, and Dark Demon Hall make a move. The Long family's young lord Long Hongfeng's eyes were deep. The Long family and Wan family were mortal enemies. If they could get their hands on the Golden Flame Divine Fist manual, it would be of great importance to the Long family. Inside Su Xiao's residence, Lu Yiping frowned. He didn't expect that the masked man who entrusted the Secret Chamber of Commerce to auction the 10,000 Divinity Order and Legacy Jade still hadn't shown up. The masked man didn't come to the Secret Chamber of Commerce to retrieve the Divine Great Origin Stone. That Divine Great Origin Stone was branded with his divine sense. As long as the masked man took it away, he would know. However, if the masked man didn't show up, he couldn't just wait here forever. Lu Yiping said to Taurus Longjiao, "Get ready. We're going to the 100 Flower Empire tomorrow." It was time to go to the Soaring Flower Gate to deal with the Azura's Gate. While he was at it, he would also go to the Black Sea Mountain to take a look. The Black Sea Mountain was the old site of the Azura's Gate. As for that masked man, as long as he came to retrieve the Divine Great Origin Stone, he wouldn't be able to escape. Hearing that Lu Yiping wanted to go to the 100 Flower Empire, Taurus Longjiao grinned, "Master? Then we'll pass by the Demon Bull Mountain?" Lu Yiping said in annoyance, "You wish?" He was well aware of Taurus Longjiao's cunning mind. The Demon Bull Mountain was the Ox tribe's holy land. As the holy land of the Ox tribe, there were naturally many beautiful Ox tribe women. Considering that they would have to go to the Azura's Gate's old site, Lu Yiping brought Lu Peng and Lu Xiaoyu along. As for Song Ning and the others from the Lei Ke Sword School, they returned to the Lei Ke Sword School after settling the matters in the Big Dipper Imperial capital. Inside the Big Dipper Imperial Palace, Zhou Dingtian breathed out in relief when he heard that Lu Yiping had finally left the Big Dipper Imperial capital. In the past few days, he had been living in fear, afraid that the Yellow Springs Devil Sect and Yin Ghost Sect's armies would come. If the Yellow Springs Devil Sect and Yin Ghost Sect's armies really came, he, the Big Dipper Emperor, would have to pack up and leave. After leaving the Big Dipper Imperial capital, Lu Yiping's group left the Big Dipper Empire without stopping, heading towards the 100 Flower Empire. Several days later, Lu Yiping's group arrived at a barren land. In front of them, there was an endless stretch of dilapidated temples. Chapter 44. The dilapidated temple was covered with weeds and moss. Occasionally, black crows could be heard crying in the sky. At this time the sky had darkened, giving off a cold and gloomy feeling. This is the old site of the Fire Dragon Temple. Lu Peng looked at the dilapidated temple that stretched as far as the eye could see and sighed. Back then, the Fire Dragon Temple was so prosperous. I heard that at its peak, people lined up from the mountain peak to the foot of the mountain to offer incense. The line sometimes stretched for several hundred li. Unfortunately, after the Tan family destroyed the Fire Dragon Temple, This Buddhist temple turned into a ghost land. Liu Yiping nodded, and the war chariot slowly moved forward. When the war chariot rolled over the ground, the sound of sand shattering could be heard. Soon, the war chariot entered the depths of the dilapidated temple ruins. Along the way, broken stone pillars and Buddha statues that had sunk into the ground could be seen everywhere. There were all kinds of scriptures and diagrams carved on the stone pillars. As for the Buddha statues, there were thousands of different shapes, modeled with traces of decay in many places. It had been more than 10,000 years since the Fire Dragon Temple's destruction. Many of the buildings in the temple had turned into rubble. Young Master, further ahead is the Fire Dragon Temple's Buddha Cavern. It was where the Fire Dragon Temple's treasures were hidden. However, after the Tan family destroyed the Fire Dragon Temple, the Tan family took all the treasures inside. Lu Peng said, "Now, the Fire Dragon Temple's Buddha Cavern has become the Tan family's puppet refining place. The Tan family has marked that place as a forbidden area. No one dares to go near it. Not even 100 li away. Some experts who went near it were captured by the Tan family and refined into puppets." While Lu Peng was explaining, Liu Yiping suddenly said, "The Tan family occupied this place to look for the Fire Dragon Buddhist scripture, right? Back then, when the Tan family destroyed the Fire Dragon Temple, they plundered the Fire Dragon Temple's countless Buddhist scriptures, cultivation techniques, and ultimate techniques. However, they could not find the Fire Dragon Buddhist scripture. There were many theories about the Fire Dragon Buddhist scripture. Some said that the Fire Dragon Buddhist scripture was a Buddhist cultivation technique, left behind by an arhat in the Buddhist world. After cultivating it to major completion, one would possess the power of the Dragon Buddha, and could mold one's physical body into an indestructible golden body. Some said that the Fire Dragon Buddhist scripture was created by an ancient Buddha. After cultivating it, one's lifespan would increase greatly and break through the limit of 100,000 years. Furthermore, the Fire Dragon Buddhist scripture itself contained the power of Buddhism. Carrying it on one's body could repel all kinds of evil spirits and suppress all kinds of ghosts and corpses. Thus, this was also the reason why the Tan family was still painstakingly searching for the Fire Dragon Buddhist scripture. Hearing Liu Yiping mention the Fire Dragon Buddhist scripture, Lu Peng smiled and said, "I'm afraid that the Fire Dragon Buddhist scripture is not in the Fire Dragon Temple. Otherwise, the Tan family would have found it after so many years." For so many years, the Tan clan had searched every nook and cranny of the Fire Dragon Temple no less than 10 times, but there was still no sign of the Fire Dragon Buddhist scripture. Liu Yiping's eyes were deep as he looked towards the depths of the Fire Dragon Temple and said, "That may not be the case." Lu Peng was stunned and said, "Young Master, the Tan clan's forbidden area is 10 miles ahead. There are always experts from the Tan family patrolling that place. A few years ago, several of our Azura's Gate Grand Elders passed by and were captured by the Tan family's experts. As for the fate of those Azura's Gate Grand Elders, it goes without saying." Right at this time, the sound of whistling wind came from behind them. A large group of black-clothed men were flying towards them at lightning speed, arriving behind them in the blink of an eye. These black-clothed men had their faces covered, but judging from their attire, they were not from the Tan family. This group of black-clothed men also saw Liu Yiping's group. The black-clothed leader's gaze paused on Liu Yiping. "Lord, should we hand them over?" One of his subordinates stepped forward and asked. His intention was to take care of Liu Yiping's group while he was at it. After all, their operation tonight should not be seen by others. The black-clothed leader hesitated for a moment, but in the end, he shook his head and said, "Forget it, it's better to avoid unnecessary trouble. Proper business is more important." He then led the group away. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared into the darkness of the night. Taurus Longjiao watched the black-clothed men leave and chuckled. He licked his lips and said, "This group of black-clothed men, I thought they were going to make a move. However, looking at the direction they are heading, they should be heading to the Buddha cave of the Fire Dragon Temple." Liu Yiping ordered Taurus Longjiao to follow them. Not long after, he heard a loud bang, followed by a shocking energy fluctuation. It seemed like a fight had broken out. When Liu Yiping's group arrived, they saw that the main hall in front of them had been blasted into a pile of dust. On the ground in the distance there were more than a dozen corpses. "It's the Tan family's experts. Lu Peng exclaimed when he saw the corpses. It was obvious that the black-clothed men were the culprits. In the Hengyuan world, everyone's expression changed when they talked about the Tan family. Someone actually dared to kill the Tan family's disciples. Moreover, this stronghold was one of the more important strongholds of the Tan family. However, the Tan family had annihilated many sects, so naturally they had many enemies. Lu Yiping's group continued forward. Along the way, they saw the corpses of the Tan family's experts. The group of black-clothed men who came were all experts. In the end, they arrived at the depths of the Buddha cave of the Fire Dragon Temple. In the open space in front of them, the group of black-clothed men was fighting with a group of Tan family's experts. These Tan family's experts were not weak, and each of them had a powerful puppet by their side. The group of black-clothed men encountered a lot of resistance. The group of black-clothed men and Tan family's experts were surprised to see Lu Yiping's group. The leader of the black-clothed men frowned. Of course, they didn't want anyone to see what happened tonight. Right at this time, one of the Tan family's experts abruptly attacked Lu Yiping's group with a puppet. However, when this Tan family's expert and his puppet were about to attack Lu Yiping, they suddenly froze. Then, like scattered sand, they shattered and scattered with the wind. Seeing this strange scene, the black-clothed men jumped in fright. That Tan family's expert was a first-layer Emperor Realm expert. A first-layer Martial Monarch Realm expert had turned into dust just like that. The Tan family's expert was also shocked. However, what made the black-clothed men and Tan family's experts slightly relieved was that Lu Yiping's group did not continue to attack. Lu Yiping ignored the black-clothed men and Tan family's experts, continuing to move deeper into the Buddha cavern. As they moved deeper into the Buddha cavern, they were constantly attacked by Tan family's experts. However, with Zhang Jin's group of 4 paving the way, Lu Yiping and Taurus Longjiao did not attack. Their journey was smooth. In the end, they arrived at the deepest part of the Buddha cavern. In the deepest part of the Buddha cavern was a huge Buddha city. Buddha statues could be seen everywhere, and the buildings here were well preserved. They were all left behind by the Fire Dragon Temple. The Buddha city was empty. Lu Peng was puzzled, not understanding why Lu Yiping came to the deepest part of the Buddha cavern. There was nothing in the deepest part of the Buddha cavern. Suddenly, he saw Lu Yiping grabbing at the void in front of him. Light rippled in the void. Then an ancient Buddha character appeared. This ancient Buddha character gave Lu Peng and the others a strange feeling. Chapter 45. Seeing Lu Peng, Lu Xiaoyu and Zhang Jin staring at the ancient Buddha character with bewilderment, Lu Yiping explained, "This ancient Buddha character is hidden in the void and can move according to the fluctuations in space. Therefore, the Tan family's experts couldn't find it. Let's go in." Hearing Lu Yiping say go in, Lu Peng was dumbfounded. Go in? Lu Yiping nodded. Inside the ancient Buddha character is a separate space. At this time, the war chariot leaped into the air, arriving in front of the ancient Buddha character. Golden lightning crackled around Taurus Longjiao's body, and as the golden lightning crackled, a space entrance appeared in the middle of the ancient Buddha character. The war chariot then passed through the space entrance. When everyone entered, the space entrance closed, and the ancient Buddha character once again disappeared into the void. After entering the space, Lu Peng, Lu Xiaoyu, and the others were shocked when they saw the scene before them. Above them was a 1,000-jong-long fire dragon swimming in the air. As this fire dragon swam, it exuded rich and pure fire dragon essence energy. This fire dragon essence energy was like waves, flooding the entire space. Lu Yiping saw the fire dragon swimming in the air, and with a flick of his finger, the fire dragon flew out. Before the fire dragon got close, waves of fire covered the sky. However, when these waves of fire reached the war chariot, they were blocked by an invisible force. What surprised Lu Peng and Lu Xiaoyu was that when the fire dragon arrived in front of them, it suddenly emitted a bright light and disappeared. In its place was a golden book emitting flames. This is... Lu Peng's eyes widened in shock. This is the Fire Dragon Temple's Fire Dragon Buddhist scripture. Lu Yiping explained, and with a stretch of his hand, the Fire Dragon Buddhist scripture fell into his palm. This Fire Dragon Buddhist scripture's artifact spirit is a fire dragon. Hearing that the golden book in front of them was the Fire Dragon Temple's legendary Fire Dragon Buddhist scripture, Lu Peng was shocked. The Fire Dragon Buddhist scripture was one of the Hongyuan world's 4 great Buddhist scriptures. It was said that if one could gather all 4 great Buddhist scriptures, one could even open a path to the Buddha world, possessing unimaginable power. Young noble, I heard that if one gathers all 4 great Buddhist scriptures, one can open a path to the Buddha world. I wonder if it's true? Lu Peng asked. Lu Yiping smiled. Maybe. After putting away the Fire Dragon Buddhist scripture into the cauldron of heaven and earth, Lu Yiping looked at the huge golden vats piled up on the ground in front of him. Lu Yiping stepped forward and opened one of the cylinder covers. Suddenly, Buddhist light filled the sky, and golden Buddhist power filled the world. A strange fragrance wafted out. Everyone who smelled it felt refreshed and comfortable, as if they had swallowed a Buddhist pill. This is... Lu Peng was shocked. This is Buddha resin. Taurus Longjiao said. And it's a heavenly god level Buddha resin. Buddha resin of the heavenly god level. Lu Peng and Lu Xiaoyu were astounded. What was stored inside this golden vat was actually heavenly god level Buddha resin. The Buddhist fat was refined from the fat of the Buddhas after being tempered thousands of times. When the Buddhist fat was burned, it would produce Buddhist incense, which was very beneficial to cultivators. For example, this heavenly god level Buddha resin was refined from the fat of a heavenly god realm Buddha, containing traces of heavenly god's law energy. When a true god realm expert cultivated, they could light up a small vat of this kind of Buddha resin, cultivating while comprehending the heavenly god's law energy contained within the Buddha resin, greatly increasing their cultivation speed. Moreover, the Buddha energy contained within the Buddha resin could cleanse one's heart and soul, reducing one's inner demons and preventing the possibility of cultivation deviation. The higher the grade of the Buddha resin, the better the effect. If it was a saint-level Buddha resin, it could even bring one into the Tao realm, allowing one to comprehend the saint's Tao. These, don't tell me all of them are heavenly god-level Buddha resin? Zhang Jin gulped as he looked at the several hundred golden vats in front of him. If all of them were heavenly god-level Buddha resin, then how many heavenly god realm Buddhas were required to refine so much Buddha resin? And all of them are heavenly god-level Buddha resin, Lu Yiping confirmed. How can the Fire Dragon Temple have so much heavenly god-level Buddha resin? Zhao Wen was puzzled. Although the Fire Dragon Temple was the largest Buddhist temple on the Xinwu continent, it was impossible for it to have so many heavenly god realm Buddha's corpses. To refine so much Buddha resin, one would need at least several hundred heavenly god realm Buddha's corpses. Lu Yiping pondered for a moment before saying, perhaps the Fire Dragon Temple obtained the treasures of an ancient Buddha, and it was because of this Buddha resin that the Tan family destroyed the Fire Dragon Temple. The Tan family has been guarding this place for so many years, and they're not only looking for the Fire Dragon Buddhist scripture, but also for this Buddha resin. At this time, the group of black-robed men outside had also arrived at the deepest part of the Buddha cavern. Strange, that blue-robed youth clearly came in, so how could he have disappeared? One of the black-robed men was bewildered. The leader of the black-robed men scanned the Buddha city, and his eyes emitted a dim light. He muttered, there should be an entrance to a different space here. An entrance to a different space. Everyone was stunned. The thing we're looking for might be here. Everyone, let's split up and search, the leader said. Not long after the black-robed men split up to search, a light suddenly surged in the void, and a war chariot emerged from the depths of the void. It was Lu Yiping's group, who had just exited the golden Buddha space. The black-robed men stopped in their tracks, stunned. Lu Yiping glanced at the group of black-robed men before taking the ancient Buddha character. The leader of the black-robed men stared at the ancient Buddha character in Lu Yiping's hand. He hesitated for a moment before cupping his fists at Lu Yiping. Little brother, I am a descendant of the Fire Dragon Temple, and this ancient Buddha character belongs to my Fire Dragon Temple. I hope that little brother can return it to my Fire Dragon Temple, and we will be eternally grateful. Lu Peng and Lu Xiaoyu were both surprised. These black-robed men were actually descendants of the Fire Dragon Temple. Lu Xiaoyu and Lu Xiaoyu turned to look at Lu Yiping. Lu Yiping remained calm and collected. Suddenly, he pressed his palm on the air, and the black-robed leader's black robe exploded, revealing his true appearance. His forehead was full of black lines, and wisps of purplish-black gas were flowing out from his body. Fire Dragon Temple's descendant, doesn't cultivate Buddhism's cultivation technique. Lu Yiping said nonchalantly. Moreover, he possesses the Purple Devil tribe's Purple Devil physique? Clearly, these black-robed men were not Fire Dragon Temple's descendants, but the Purple Devil tribe from the Ghost Devil continent. In the Hengyuan world plane there were 46 continents, and the Ghost Devil continent was one of the strongest continents. The Yin Ghost sect's headquarters was located on the Ghost Devil continent. Other than the Yin Ghost sect, this Purple Devil tribe was the strongest force on the Ghost Devil continent. Their strength was comparable to the Tan family. Seeing that his identity was exposed, the Purple Devil tribe's leader's face sank. His aura locked onto Lu Yiping, and a devilish light flickered in his eyes. He punched out at Lu Yiping, shouting at the same time, "Attack, kill them!" God force surged from his body, indicating that he was a mid-stage true God realm expert. Lu Yiping looked at the Purple Devil race's leader rushing over, and with a flick of his finger, the ancient Buddha character flew out. When the ancient Buddha character flew out, a golden Buddha light bloomed like a golden sun, drowning the entire space in the deepest part of the Buddha cavern. Chapter 46. The ancient Buddha character instantly expanded in the wind. It was like a chaotic Buddha mountain that suddenly came crashing down. The purple demon race's leader was terrified. Devil light divine flame. Devil flames burst out from his body, attacking the ancient Buddha character in a frenzy. His full force attack landed on the ancient Buddha character, but it did not budge in the slightest. Boom! The purple demon race's leader was smashed into the ground by the ancient Buddha character. The entire Buddha cavern trembled. The ground of the Buddha cavern continued to crack, spreading out like a huge rift valley. The other purple demon race's experts who were rushing over stopped in their tracks. They were dumbfounded looking at the purple demon race's leader, who was smashed into the ground by the ancient Buddha character. At this time, the ancient Buddha character flew back into Lu Yiping's hand. The purple demon race's leader was completely embedded into the ground, blending in with the ground. His flesh and blood had turned into a paste. With a flick of his finger, Lu Yiping saw the purple demon race's leader's paste body fly out from the ground, falling into the heaven and earth cauldron. Soon true God realm gold cores flew out from the heaven and earth cauldron. These true God realm gold cores were refined by Lu Yiping along with the purple demon race's leader's godhead. Therefore, compared to Su Xiao, Wu Mo's gold core was better. All these changes happened in the blink of an eye. The purple demon race's experts were dumbfounded seeing their leader killed and refined into a gold core. Their minds went blank. A true God realm expert's body was comparable to an ordinary divine artifact, extremely difficult to refine. Many super sects could not refine a true God realm expert's body even with the help of their sect's divine cauldron. They had never heard of a divine cauldron that could refine a true God realm expert into a gold core in the blink of an eye. While the purple demon race's experts were still dumbfounded, Zhang Jin, Zhao Wan Weibing, and Chen Yongyuan made their moves. The four of them moved in a flicker, and giant elephants appeared behind them. Heavenly Elephant Prison Fist. They punched out at the same time. For mountain-like fist imprints pierced through the air. Close to 100 purple demon race's experts were sent flying. Miserable screams reverberated through the Buddha cavern. But very soon the screams stopped. The entire Buddha cavern was dyed with purple blood. Lu Yiping recalled the purple blood on the Pantheon Master's blade. However, the purple blood on the blade was slightly different from the blood of the purple demon race. Subsequently, Lu Yiping had Zhang Jin and the rest collect the purple demon clan experts' belongings before leaving the Buddha cavern. Exiting the Fire Dragon Temple, they continued on their way to the 100 Flowers Empire. Not long after Lu Yiping and the others left Fire Dragon Temple, they saw batches of Tan family experts rushing over. When the Tan family's experts saw the Tan family's experts along the way, their faces sank. Who killed so many of my Tan family's experts? One of the Tan family's true God realm ancestors roared with bloodshot eyes. However, when they followed the trail of blood to the depths of the Buddha cavern, they were stunned when they saw the corpses of the purple demon race experts. The purple demon race did it? But who was it that killed these purple demon experts? The experts of the Tan family were bewildered. The next day, Lu Yiping's group arrived at the 100 Flowers Empire's Black Sea. The Black Sea's waters were as black as ink, hence the name Black Sea. The Black Sea Mountain was located at the center of the Black Sea. Lu Yiping looked at the ink-like Black Sea in front of him, recalling the time when his good friend Qian Shaotian founded the Azura's Gate. When the Azura's Gate was established, it was he who helped Qian Shaotian choose this Black Sea. The Black Sea was still there, but his old friend was gone. After a short pause, Lu Yiping's group flew towards the Black Sea Mountain. At this time on the Black Sea Mountain, the Thousand Devil sect chief Li Fei was directing Thousand Devil Zhongzhong's disciples to carry out construction. Ever since the Thousand Devil sect destroyed the Azura's Gate and occupied this place, Li Fei had planned to turn this place into one of the most important branches of the Thousand Devil sect. This place was located in the Black Sea, surrounded on all sides by the sea. The Black Sea's rich spiritual energy was extremely suitable for their Thousand Devil sect's cultivation techniques. After 3 years of continuous demolition, renovation and reconstruction, the Azura's Gate's main hall had changed greatly. Li Fei looked at the newly renovated Azura's Gate main hall and the surrounding buildings, nodding his head in satisfaction. He walked out of the Azura's Gate main hall, and saw the Azura's Gate founder Qian Shaotian statue in the square in front of the main hall. His brows furrowed. Looking over from the main hall, one could see the Black Sea's waters. The scenery was very good. However, this statue was close to 100 meters tall, greatly obstructing the main hall's view. You guys take action later, destroy that statue for me, Li Fei said to the group of Thousand Devil sect's experts beside him. Hearing this, the Thousand Devil Zhongzhong's experts looked at each other. Sect Chief, this Azura's Gate founder statue is a little strange, one of the Thousand Devil sect's experts said. The statue has a mysterious power. No one can destroy it. Mysterious power? Li Fei was surprised. The Thousand Devil sect's experts nodded. Li Fei muttered, then let's not worry about it for now. In a while, the Soaring Flower Gate's Grand Elder Kujie will come here to inspect. I heard that there are experts from Martial God Hall accompanying her. Prepare yourselves and come with me to welcome them. Experts from Martial God Hall. The Thousand Devil Zhongzhong's experts were shocked. Li Fei nodded with a smile. It's young Master Zhao Zihao from Martial God Hall. Everyone was in an uproar. On Xinwu continent there were 4 great young masters. The first was the Wan family's Wan Hong, the second was Zhao Zihao from Martial God Hall, the third was Yun Haitian from the Yun family, and the fourth was Chen Yuan from the Chen family. The Chen family was the family of Xinwu continent's number 1 array master, Chen Qingyang, and Chen Yuan was Chen Qingyang's son. So, when you come with me to welcome young Master Zhao Zihao, no mistakes must be made. Do you understand? Li Fei said solemnly. The Thousand Devil Zhongzhong's experts felt their hearts tremble, but they all respectfully acknowledged. Not long after, 2 people flew over from the distant sea, 1 male and 1 female. They were the Soaring Flower Gate's Grand Elder Kujie and Martial God Hall's Zhao Zihao. The Thousand Devil Zhongzhong's people, who had been waiting for a long time, hurried over to welcome the 2. Greetings, Lady Kujie. The Thousand Devil sect master Li Fei knelt down in front of the 2. Young Master Zhao Zihao. Kujie had Li Fei and the rest rise, and then under the escort of the Thousand Devil Zhongzhong's experts, she and Zhao Zihao arrived at Black Sea Mountain's Azura Plaza. When they landed, Kujie looked up at the statue of ancestral Shura that stood in the center of the plaza. She frowned. Get someone to tear down this statue. The Thousand Devil sect master, Li Fei, respectfully acknowledged. He hesitated for a moment before saying, Lady Kujie, this statue of ancestral Shura is somewhat strange. It contains a mysterious power that has stood for countless years without collapsing, and it will be difficult to tear down. Martial God Hall's Zhao Zihao was astonished. His gaze landed on the statue, and his eyes flashed as if he had discovered something. He took a step forward and arrived in front of the statue. He then circled around it, occasionally frowning, occasionally relaxing, and then shaking his head. Young Master Zhao, you're a formation expert. Is there a formation inside this statue? Kujie asked curiously when she saw Zhao Zihao's expression. Zhao Zihao thought hard and then said, it seems to be a formation, but it's not. The method is somewhat similar to the Snowfall City's Great Snow Gathering Formation and Great Snow Melting Formation. He then smiled. However, it's not difficult to tear down this statue. Let me try. Chapter 47. Zhao Zihao flew up to the stone statue's chest and waved his hands. Rays of light flashed as runes formed one after another. This is condensing runes out of thin air. Thousand Demon Sect Master Li Fei exclaimed in shock. When an array master wanted to construct an array, they would need to use a rune brush. Only when one's array skills reached a certain level would they be able to condense runes with their bare hands. This was condensing runes out of thin air. Hearing Thousand Demon Sect Master Li Fei's exclamation, Zhao Zihao's expression remained the same. His hands continued to move as runes formed one after another, reaching several thousand runes. Moreover, there was no break. Condensing runes out of thin air was something some array masters could do. However, condensing 100 runes out of thin air was something only a few array masters could do. As for condensing 1,000 runes out of thin air, that was even rarer. Not to mention several thousand of them. Then, under Zhao Zihao's control, these runes condensed into mysterious array diagrams. Condensing runes into arrays. 100 Flowers Gate's Grand Elder Kujie exclaimed, "I've long heard of young Master Zhao's array skills and spear skills. Seeing it today, the rumors are true." Condensing runes into arrays was many times harder than condensing runes out of thin air. Zhao Zihao laughed, "I'm just displaying my slight skill in front of an expert. Compared to Senior Yang Xiyuan, my insignificant array skills are far inferior." Yang Xiyuan, Dark Demon Hall's ancestor. Not only was he a peak late-stage True God Realm expert, but he was also one of Hongyuan Plain's top 10 array masters. Kujie smiled. Young Master Zhao is too humble. At this time, Zhao Zihao's God Force surged, pouring into the mysterious array diagrams. In an instant, the mysterious array diagrams emitted shocking power. "Go!" Zhao Zihao waved his hand, and these array diagrams contained shocking power as they slammed into Ancestor Azura's stone statue. In an instant, the originally calm Ancestor Azura's stone statue flickered with light. A series of buzzing sounds came from the stone statue. Thousand Demon Sect Master Li Fei laughed respectfully. "It seems like in less than a minute, the stone statue will explode. Young Master Zhao's array skills are unparalleled." Zhao Zihao smiled and grunted in acknowledgement. But suddenly a terrifying sword ray shot out from the stone statue and shot towards Zhao Zihao, arriving in front of him in an instant. The sudden change shocked Zhao Zihao, and a long spear appeared in his hand. Cold Star Fall. With a thrust of his spear, countless spear lights broke through the air. These spear lights were like falling stars, emitting astonishing flames as they met the sword light head-on. Cold Star Fall was the strongest move of the Martial Sacred Hall's Heavenly Dawn spear technique. But it was useless. The sword light instantly cut through all the spear lights. Zhao Zihao was shocked, and he quickly retreated. In an instant, he executed several kinds of concealment techniques. At the same time, golden light surged out from his body. Golden runes flew out and formed a golden divine armor around him. The armor flashed with lightning. This was the supreme defensive technique of the Martial Sacred Hall, the Golden Armor Thunder God Armor. Even so, the sword radiance hit the Golden Thunder God Armor. Zhao Zihao was still hit by the attack. He staggered backward until he reached the edge of the square. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. The divine armor on his chest had been completely cut open. The wound was so deep that his bones could be seen. Kujie and Qianemo Zhongzhong of the 100 Flowers Gate were shocked. Zhao Zihao also looked at the stone statue in shock and anger. "Do you think you can destroy the stone statue with this measly formation of yours?" At this moment a voice rang out. "Measly formation?" Hearing this, Zhao Zihao's face sank. He and Qianemo Zhongzhong of the 100 Flowers Gate turned toward the source of the voice. Above the sea, a young man in a blue robe was walking on air. Behind him were 5 middle-aged men and a little girl. These people were none other than Lu Yiping, Lu Peng, and Zhang Jin. Lu Yiping did not ride the war chariot. Soon Lu Yiping's group arrived above the square. "Who are you? What business do you have with my Thousand Devil sect?" The Thousand Devil sect chief Li Fei stepped forward and asked solemnly. Lu Yiping ignored Li Fei and the others. He walked up to the stone statue and looked at it. Memories of the past flashed in his mind, as if he had returned to the days when he was drinking and drinking. The Thousand Devils sect chief Li Fei's face sank when he saw that Lu Yiping was ignoring him and staring at Ancestor Azura's stone statue in a daze. "Brat, our sect chief is asking you, what business do you have with our Thousand Devils sect? Also, young noble Zhao Ziheo's array skills are unparalleled. How can a junior like you comment on it?" A Thousand Devils sect Grand Elder stepped forward and reprimanded. However, just as the Thousand Demon sect's Great Elder finished speaking, the space shook and a formless power sent him flying. Everyone was stunned. Even Zhao Ziheo and Kujie were stunned. "Who are you?" The Thousand Devils sect chief Li Fei's face darkened, looking coldly at Lu Yiping. "It seems like you came to my Thousand Devils sect to cause trouble. Then you came to the wrong place." Kujie was the concubine of the Dark Demon Hall's ancestor Yang Xiuan. The Thousand Devils sect was backed by the Dark Demon Hall, and even the Martial God Hall's Zhao Ziheo was present. Regardless of the origin of this blue-robed young man, Li Fei had nothing to worry about. Here to cause trouble? Only then did Lu Yiping turn around. His gaze fell on the Thousand Devils sect chief Li Fei, and he said nonchalantly, "You're wrong, I'm here to kill." Kill? When the Thousand Devil Zhongzhong's experts heard this, they immediately surrounded Huang Xiaolong. Lu Yiping's expression remained the same as he looked at the Thousand Devil sect chief Li Fei. "You're the Thousand Devil sect chief Li Fei?" "That's right, I'm Li Fei." The Thousand Devil sect chief Li Fei sneered. Right at this time he saw Lu Yiping reach out his hand. Tens of thousands of rays of light flew out and entered the bodies of the Thousand Devil sect chief Li Fei and the other Thousand Devil sect experts. Li Fei and the others were horrified to find that their true essence and internal energy were completely sealed. Even the power of his physical body had been completely sealed. "This you?" Li Fei looked at Lu Yiping in horror. Zhao Ziheo and Kujie, who were watching from the side, felt their hair stand on end. This young man, in the blink of an eye, actually sealed the true essence, internal energy, and even physical strength of several Thousand Devil sect experts. With their true essence, internal energy, and even physical strength sealed, wouldn't Li Fei and the others be no different from mortals without the strength to truss a chicken? Lu Yiping said to Lu Peng and Lu Xiaoyu, "Their strength has been sealed. You can go up and avenge the Azura's Gate disciples who died." Originally, with Lu Peng and Lu Xiaoyu's Gold Core Realm strength, it was impossible for them to kill Li Fei and the others. However, now that Li Fei and the others' strength was completely sealed, it was easy for Lu Peng and Lu Xiaoyu to kill them. Two blades appeared in Lu Peng's hands. His eyes were bloodshot as he walked towards Li Fei and the group of Thousand Devil sect experts. "Azura's Gate. You're an Azura's Gate elder." One of the Thousand Devil sect elders who had fought with Lu Peng looked at Lu Peng with fear. Just as Lu Yiping was about to step forward and kill Li Fei and the others, Zhao Ziheo of the Battle God Temple suddenly spoke to Lu Yiping. "I am Zhao Ziheo of the Battle God Temple. Who are you to the Azura's Gate?" The Thousand Devil sect has submitted to the Dark Demon Palace and is one of their forces. If you kill Thousand Devil Zhongzhong's men, you will offend the Dark Demon Palace. Chapter 48. He had heard from the Martial Sacred Hall's Zhao Ziheo that the Thousand Demon sect had already submitted to the Dark Demon Hall, and was now a force of the Dark Demon Hall. He had also warned him that if he killed the Thousand Demon sect, he would offend the Dark Demon Hall. Zhang Jin, Zhao Wen and the other three laughed. Lu Yiping also smiled and said, "So the Thousand Devil sect has already submitted to the Dark Demon Hall. If you didn't tell me, I really wouldn't have known." He paused. "But if that's the case, then I want to kill you even more." Zhao Ziheo's face darkened. Lu Yiping continued, "You're a disciple of the Battle God Palace? However, since when did the Martial Sacred Hall's disciples become the lackeys of the Dark Demon Hall?" "You." Zhao Ziheo was enraged. At this time Lu Peng arrived in front of Li Fei and swung his twin blades. When Zhao Ziheo saw that Lu Peng, a Golden Core Realm martial artist, actually disregarded him, he could not help saying angrily, courting death. The long spear in his hand suddenly stabbed out. 9 dragons extinguished the sun. Imbuing it with divine power, the long spear pierced toward Lu Peng's chest. 9 fire dragons flew out. Zhao Ziheo's eyes were cold. His 9-dragon spear art was the strongest spear art in the Martial God Hall. Although he was only a mid-stage divine spirit realm expert, He could still fight against a late-stage divine spirit realm expert with this 9-dragon spear art. Just as Zhao Ziheo's spear was about to pierce through Lu Peng's chest, a hand suddenly appeared from the side and grabbed Zhao Ziheo's spear head. He grabbed it with his bare hands. Zhao Ziheo's long spear pierced into the palm of the other party. With a clanging sound, sparks burst forth, but it was actually unable to advance any further. As for the other party's palm, it didn't even break the skin. Zhao Ziheo and Kujie were shocked. They looked over and realized that the one who attacked was one of the blue-robed young man's subordinates. The one who attacked was Zhang Jin. Zhang Jin gripped Zhao Ziheo's spear, his countenance cold. With a flick of his wrist, Zhao Ziheo was flung through the air, while the spear landed in his hands. Just as Zhao Ziheo was sent flying, a blood-curdling scream was heard. The head of the Thousand Devil sect master Li Fei was cut off by Lu Peng. The other experts of the Thousand Devil sect all felt their souls turn cold. Many experts of the Thousand Devil sect rushed in front of Kujie and shouted for her to save them. "Your Grand Elder Kujie of Hundred Flowers Gate?" Lu Yiping's gaze landed on the Grand Elder of the Hundred Flowers Gate. "Kujie, since you're here, it saves me the trouble of making an extra trip to the Hundred Flowers Gate." Sensing the killing intent in Lu Yiping's words, Grand Elder Kujie's expression changed. She said, "I am the concubine of Dark Demon Hall's ancestor, Yang Xiyuan." Lu Yiping pulled her in front of him. "Yang Xiyuan's concubine? So what? Who are you?" Kujie's voice trembled. Lu Yiping said calmly. Both Kujie and Zhao Ziheo's expressions changed when they heard this. "You're Lu Yiping." The matter of the Yin Ghost sect's young sect master, Hao Dan, had already spread. All the experts of the Xinwu continent's super sects had heard of Lu Yiping's name. The two of them had tried to guess the identity of the blue-robed young man in front of them, and guessed that he was from the Shura sect. However, they had never imagined that he would be Lu Yiping, who had recently become known as the Zither Immortal. However, the two of them could not understand how Lu Yiping was related to the Shura sect, which was only a second-rate power on the Xinwu continent. Lu Yiping was not in a hurry to kill Grand Elder Kujie. Instead, he searched her soul. He wanted to know who had ordered Kujie to kill the Shura sect's experts. Soon he finished searching her soul. Lu Yiping's expression turned cold. The person who had ordered Kujie to kill the Shura sect's experts was not the Hundred Flowers Gate sect master, but the ancestor Sun Fong. However, Sun Fong had long since submitted to Dark Demon Hall, and was now under their control. Not only Sun Fong, but another ancestor and a group of Grand Elders from the Hundred Flowers Gate were also under Dark Demon Hall's control. After he finished searching her soul, Lu Yiping directly sent a stream of flames towards Grand Elder Kujie. She was instantly engulfed by the flames and dissipated in midair. Not even ashes fell from her body, and even her primordial spirit and fate palace were completely incinerated. Zhao Ziheo looked at Lu Yiping with fear in his eyes. There were all sorts of discussions about Lu Yiping in the Xinwu continent. Everyone said that Lu Yiping was a madman who did things according to his whims. Now the rumors were true, and he had even killed the concubine of Yang Xiyuan, the ancestor of Dark Demon Hall. Screams rang out one after another. One by one, the Thousand Demon Sect experts were killed by Lu Peng. Empty Black Sea was surrounded by the sea, and the Thousand Demon Sect expert strength had been sealed. They could not escape even if they wanted to. Not long after, the screams stopped. The plaza was littered with the corpses of the Thousand Demon Sect experts. The stench of blood was pungent. Zhang Jin, Lu Peng, and the others began to clean up the scene. Zhao Ziheo stood there. He wanted to leave, but he did not dare to. Lu Yiping looked at him. When he felt Lu Yiping's gaze, Zhao Ziheo's heart trembled. He lowered his head, not daring to look at Lu Yiping. "Your 9-dragon spear technique was passed down to you by Tseng Jujue?" Lu Yiping asked indifferently. "Tseng Jujue?" Zhao Ziheo was stunned, but he soon realized that Lu Yiping was referring to the ancestor of Martial God Hall, Martial God Jujue. Martial God Jujue was the strongest and oldest ancestor of Martial God Hall. Tseng Jujue was his real name, but it had been many years since anyone had dared to call him by his real name. His 9-dragon spear technique was not passed down by Martial God Jujue, but by another Martial God of Martial God Hall. This Martial God was Martial God Jujue's personal disciple. Zhao Zihao's face sank when he heard Lu Yiping call their ancestor martial god Juju by his real name. Even Jiang Yu from the extreme celestial sect would address their ancestor as Senior Juju. Lu Yiping, don't think that you're invincible just because you killed Hao Dan and Su Xiao. You're nothing in front of our martial god Hall's martial god Juju. How can you call our martial god Hall's martial god Juju by name? Zhao Zihao said coldly. Is that so? Lu Yiping said indifferently. Even if Tsang Juju is in front of me, I will call him by his real name. Then he flicked his finger and sent Zhao Zihao flying out of the Four Seas mountain. Go back and tell that brat Tsang Jujua to take good care of Martial God Hall. If Martial God Hall gets involved with Dark Demon Hall again, don't blame me. Lu Yiping's voice sounded. Many Martial God Hall's ancestors and disciples had close relationships with Dark Demon Hall. Some of Martial God Hall's experts even married Dark Demon Hall's female disciples. Zhao Zihao was sent flying out of the Black Sea Mountain, crashing into the Black Sea. Hearing Lu Yiping's words, he was both shocked and angry. With great difficulty, he flew out from the Black Sea, looking in the direction of the Black Sea Mountain's Azura Square. His eyes were indifferent. Then he sped away. A short while later, Lu Peng, Zhang Jin, and the rest cleaned up the scene. Lu Yiping walked into the Azura Great Hall. Although the Azura Great Hall had been altered beyond recognition by Thousand Devil Sects experts, many of the buildings still retained some of their original style. Lu Yiping walked around casually, and before he knew it, he arrived at Azura's Gate's ancestral land. Chapter 49. The Shura Gate ancestral land was located behind empty Black Sea. However, there were no beasts in sight, and the spiritual energy in the ancestral land had dried up. Not to mention spiritual herbs, there wasn't even a single stalk of spiritual grass to be seen. The entire ancestral land was desolate, like a wasteland. It was obvious that the spiritual vein in the ancestral land had been completely dug out. Moreover, all the valuables in the ancestral land had been taken away. Lu Peng followed behind Lu Yiping. Looking at the desolated ancestral land, his heart was filled with bitterness. Several decades ago, when he had entered the Shura Gate, it was already a second-rate force in the Shenwu continent. However, there were still close to 10,000 disciples. An empty Black Sea was still quite lively. It was not as desolate as it was now. All of a sudden, Lu Yiping pressed his palm in the direction of the Azura Gate's ancestral land. In an instant, rays of golden light shot out from the ground, bathing the ancestral land in a golden glow. Surging waves of energy continued to emerge from the ground. Lu Peng was shocked. Was this the ancestral land's ancestral source power? Many years ago, no one in their Azura Gate knew how to utilize the ancestral root's power. Yet, Lu Yiping was actually able to do so? How did Lu Yiping know about this secret technique? Lu Peng was puzzled. Lu Yiping flicked his finger, and a spiritual vein flew out. Immediately, divine spiritual energy swept through the ancestral land like a vast ocean. Divine grade spiritual vein! Lu Peng exclaimed. After this divine grade spiritual vein flew out, it was like a flying dragon that flew into the ancestral land and merged with the Shura Gate's ancestral source. In an instant, the desolate ancestral land was filled with vitality and spiritual energy. Some of the withered tree trunks began to sprout, and their withered bark began to fall off. New bark began to grow. The mountain tops were filled with tender greenery. It was a pleasant sight. Lu Peng took a deep breath, and all the pores on his body opened. It was as if his mind and soul were being purified. From now on, the Shura Gate's ancestral source will be under your control, Lu Yiping said. Oh, me? No, I can't. Hearing Huang Xiaolong's words, Lu Peng jumped in fright, stammering, "Young noble, I'm just an insignificant elder in Azura's Gate. Moreover, my strength is weak. Who knows, there might still be grand elders on the run." Lu Yiping interrupted, "I told you to control it, so you'll control it." His expression was gloomy, but in the end, he respectfully complied. "Although you've learned the Azura sword skill, it's still too low level," Lu Yiping said. "I'm going to teach you a cultivation technique." This cultivation technique was cultivated by the ancient Azura clan's royal family. Then, he pointed at Lu Peng's forehead and a profound cultivation technique was imprinted in his mind. With the ancient Azura tribe's imperial cultivation technique, the Azura ancestral land's godly spiritual aura, and the true god gold pellet he had given to Lu Peng's cultivation would progress by leaps and bounds. Following this, Lu Yiping had Zhang Jin's group, and the immortal golden phoenix Huangzhou remodel MT Black Sea. While Zhang Jin's group was reconstructing MT Black Sea, Zhao Zihao had fled back to Battle God Hall's branch on the Xinwu continent. Zhao Zihao's father, Zhao Xiong, was the branch master of Battle God Hall. When he saw the shocking sword wound on Zhao Zihao's chest, he asked Zhao Zihao what had happened. Zhao Zihao stammered and told him about MT Black Sea. Zhao Xiong's expression sank. This Lu Yiping is reminding us not to get too close to Dark Demon Hall? Yes, he said that if Battle God Hall and Dark Demon Hall continue to be entangled, then we can't blame him. Zhao Zihao nodded. Whoever our martial sacred hall is close to is our martial sacred hall's business. Who does this Lu Yiping think he is? Why does he have to meddle in this? The vice hall master of the martial sacred hall, Yu Zhifang, sneered. Does he think he's the master of Hengyuan Plain? He wants to care about everything in the world? What if * king joke? Zhao Xiong muttered. This Lu Yiping is actually walking together with a small elder of the Shura Gate. He even killed Kujia for the sake of the Shura Gate, not hesitating to offend Yang Xiyuan and the Soaring Flower Gate. What is his relationship with the Shura Gate? Investigate the relationship between Lu Yiping and the Shura Gate. Also, inform Dark Demon Hall and the Soaring Flower Gate that Kujia has been killed by Lu Yiping. Lu Yiping stayed in MT Black Sea for 2 days. He then headed towards the 100 Flowers Empire's capital. The Soaring Flower Gate's headquarters was close to the 100 Flowers Empire's capital. Not far from the capital was the Soaring Flower Gate's headquarters. As he approached the capital, he saw that almost all the people passing by were women. There were very few men. This 100 Flowers Empire is a country of women. Everyone is a woman. Taurus Longjiao stared at the women passing by. Most of the women passing by were beauties. Zhang Jin laughed. The 100 Flowers Empress Ji places great importance on female generals. 90% of the 100 Flowers Empire's officials are women. The 100 Flowers Empire has a strong female culture. Many sects' patriarchs and families' patriarchs are held by women. Therefore, the number of women in the 100 Flowers Empire is 3 to 4 times the number of men. When Lu Yiping's group arrived at the 100 Flowers Empire's capital, he noticed that the number of men in the capital was even fewer. 9 out of 10 people were women. On both sides of the street, there were battle arenas with the word spouse competition written on them. Master, I also want to go up and give it a try. Taurus Longjiao felt an itch in his heart. Lu Yiping chuckled, if you go up, she might not even take a fancy to a cow like you. Right at this time, a commotion broke out in the crowd. It's Holy Maiden Luotong. Holy Maiden Luotong is here. Lu Yiping looked over and saw a luxurious carriage slowly approaching from the street. On both sides of the carriage were 2 groups of experts, and there were at least 100 of them. Inside the carriage sat a devastatingly beautiful woman. On Xinwu continent, the Wan family was the leader of the 4 great clans, while Yun Haitian's Yun family was ranked last. After the Wan family was the Luo family. The Luo family's ancestor was one of Xinwu continent's 3 great sword gods, Sword God Luo Ning. He was also the only remaining sword god on Xinwu continent. Luotong was a daughter of the Luo family. Like Yun Haitian, she had dual saint gifts, but her fame surpassed Yun Haitian's and Zhao Zihao's. This was because not only was Luotong a daughter of the Luo family, but she was also the disciple of the Tai sect's ancestor, Zhang Susu. Zhang Susu was Zhang Yu's younger sister. When the various disciples and experts on the street saw the carriage approaching, they all retreated, and some even knelt down in excitement. I heard that Holy Maiden Luotong is here to visit the Soaring Flower sect. She's good friends with the sect master. Luotong has dual saint gifts, and her beauty can topple cities. I wonder which man will be lucky enough to win the favor of Holy Maiden Luotong. I heard that even the 2 young masters Zhao Zihao and Chan Yuan were unable to win Holy Maiden Luotong's heart. The crowd whispered amongst themselves. Soon Luotong's entourage arrived in front of the Golden Horn War Chariot. Chapter 50. Luo Tong's entourage passed by the Taurus without stopping, and they soon disappeared at the end of the street. Taurus Longjiao looked at the entourage and said, "Why does that girl look so much like Goddess Luo Shui?" Goddess Luo Shui was one of the most beautiful women of ancient times. Even the Master of Gods had admired her back then. However, the Master of Gods had not been able to win her back in the end. Some people said that Goddess Luo Shui had once told the Master of Gods that her heart already belonged to someone else. This had caused a huge commotion at the time, and everyone had been guessing who had won her heart. This person had even become the enemy of everyone. But in the end, no one knew who Goddess Luo Shui's heart belonged to. Lu Yiping looked at the girl from the Luo family as she left, deep in thought. "Luo Tong? Luo Shui? Let's go," Lu Yiping said. Taurus Longjiao said, "Master, look, it's getting dark. We're out of the city and in the wilderness. Why don't we rest here for the night and head to Soaring Flower Gate tomorrow?" "It's still early." Lu Yiping smiled. Although it was already afternoon, there was still an hour or two before the sky darkened. Lu Yin naturally understood Taurus Longjiao's intentions. Thus, the group did not stop, and they passed through the capital and headed toward Soaring Flower Gate. Not long after leaving the capital, they arrived at a plain. There were all sorts of colorful flowers in full bloom, and when the wind blew, the fragrance of the flowers filled the air. This was the Centauria Plains of the Centauria Empire. Many flowers that were rarely seen in other parts of the Shenwu continent could be found here. There was a large road in the middle of the Centauria Plains. The chariot traveled along the road, and all sorts of fragrant flowers surrounded it. It was a pleasing sight to behold, as if one had entered a world of flowers. This Centauria Plains has been destroyed countless times, but every time, it will be restored the next year, Zhao Wen said. This time Lu Yiping had only brought Zhang Jin and Zhao Wen with him. Lu Peng and Lu Xiaoyu stayed behind to cultivate and restore the Azura's Gate. Wei Bing and Chen Yongyuan also stayed behind. Lu Yiping nodded. Someone set up the 10,000 Spirit Growth Formation on the 100 Flower Plains. Although the Myriad Spirit Growth Great Array wasn't one of the top 10 ancient divine arrays, it was still a very famous array. Within the range of the Myriad Spirit Growth Great Array, anything that was destroyed would slowly recover. Of course, the recovery ability of the Myriad Spirit Growth Grand Array was limited. Not everything could be restored. For example, if a 100,000-year-old spirit herb was destroyed, the Myriad Spirit Growth Grand Array would not be able to recover. Could it be that Qin Yu set it up? Taurus Longjiao asked. No. Lu Yiping shook his head. This 1,000 Spirits Growth Formation has many flaws. It wasn't set up by Qin Yu. While the war chariot was traveling through the Sea of Flowers, the great mighty heavenly dragon formation that Lu Yiping set up in the battlefield of the gods shook. Lu Yiping immediately sensed it. Turning his head, a vertical eye appeared between his eyebrows. This vertical eye flickered with lightning, as if it contained a sea of lightning. This vertical eye pierced through layers of spacetime and arrived at the battlefield of the gods. In the depths of the battlefield of the gods, in the space of the 9 ultimate god burial formation, every movement was reflected in the vertical eye. However, the space of the 9 ultimate god burial formation was calm, nothing out of the ordinary. Earlier, the great mighty heavenly dragon formation had covered the space of the 9 ultimate god burial formation, but after finding nothing out of the ordinary, it disappeared into the void. Lu Yiping frowned. The eye of lightning punishment scanned the battlefield of the gods for a while before retracting it. Then he had Taurus Longjiao continue forward. The night gradually darkened. Stars dotted the sky. The night sky was just like a piece of black jade that was dotted with starlight. When they passed by a small hill, Lu Yiping stopped and set up a bonfire. Drinking wine and barbecuing meat, he thought about the great mighty heavenly dragon formation that shook. Master, did the great mighty heavenly dragon formation move just now? Taurus Longjiao asked. Lu Yiping shook his head. Right at this moment, someone was humming a song from afar as he walked over. Drunk and carefree. Heaven and earth carefree. I'm drunk and carefree. The tune was decent, but the lyrics were a little out of tune. He saw a sloppily dressed old man with shaggy hair was riding a donkey, staggering over. The old man hummed as he held a wine gourd and poured a mouthful of wine into his mouth from time to time. He didn't care that his chest was wet from the wine, and he had a carefree appearance. Suddenly, the old man smelled a whiff of strange wine. He couldn't help but stop and sniff with his rotten nose. His eyes lit up, and he rode his donkey over to Lu Yiping's side. Soon the old man noticed Lu Yiping and the others. His gaze fell on the wine jar in Lu Yiping's hand. Then he jumped off the donkey and landed beside the bonfire. Then he smiled and said, "Little brother, what wine is this? It smells so good." He rubbed his hands together, looking like he could not hold back his thirst. Lu Yiping put down the wine jar and looked at the donkey behind the old man. He smiled and said, "If you want to drink this wine, give me that donkey in exchange." When the sloppy old man heard this, he seemed to wake up. He looked at Lu Yiping in surprise, then shook his head and smiled. "That won't do. This is my lifeblood, my old sweetheart. I won't exchange it for anything." Lu Yiping smiled indifferently. "This wine is made from ice flame fruit, thunderfire lotus, Buddha heart leaf, purple mist ice lava, earth flame." He listed more than 10 ingredients in a row. Every time he said one, the sloppy old man was shocked. He looked at the wine in front of Lu Yiping in disbelief. The ice flame fruit was a treasure. Back then, even He Xiao of the Medicine King Hall was reluctant to drink this wine when he found out that it was made from the ice flame fruit. The thunderfire lotus and the other ingredients were all rarer than the ice flame fruit. It was no wonder that the sloppy old man was shocked and in disbelief. After Lu Yiping listed more than 10 ingredients, he stopped and did not continue. The sloppy old man's heart was itching from Huang Xiaolong's words. He couldn't help reaching out to the wine jug. However, just as he reached out, he was blocked by Zhao Wen's hand. The sloppy old man was surprised. He looked at Zhao Wen from head to toe, then smiled. "Late-stage true god realm, not bad." His hand suddenly moved, turning into countless afterimages, bypassing Zhao Wen's hand and reaching for the wine jug. However, just as he was about to touch the wine jug, he was blocked by a large bull leg. The sloppy old man held the large bull leg, looking at the golden retriever on the bull leg that emitted a golden light even at night. He was dazed. At this time the bull leg shook, forcing the sloppy old man back. The sloppy old man looked at the Taurus Longjiao, who was still sitting there chewing on the roasted meat in disbelief. His gaze swept over Zhang Jin, Zhao Wen, and finally fell on Lu Yiping. "Who are you?" His face gradually became serious. In the distance, the sound of footsteps could be heard. A fleet of carriages drove over. It was Luotong's fleet. Chapter 51. Lu Yiping looked at the sloppy old man and said, "You've cultivated the phantom god's hand to the 7th layer. Not bad." The sloppy old man was visibly shaken. His eyes lit up as he stared at Lu Yiping, as if trying to see through Lu Yiping. "You know about the phantom god's hand?" The phantom god's hand had not appeared in the world for many years. He had used it in front of many people before, and even many of the sect's ancestors could not recognize it. How did this blue-robed youth recognize it? Lu Yiping did not answer and instead looked at the sloppy old man. "You obtained the inheritance of the phantom god's technique?" The sloppy old man was clearly startled when he heard this, and he looked at Lu Yiping in bewilderment. At this time Luotong's convoy was approaching. Luotong, who was sitting in a luxurious carriage, was startled when she saw the sloppy old man and Lu Yiping's group. Her gaze fell on the sloppy old man, and her beautiful eyes were filled with surprise. She then ordered the convoy to stop, and she alighted from the carriage. She walked in front of the sloppy old man and bowed respectfully. "Are you Senior Zhou Cheng?" The sloppy old man, Zhou Cheng, turned his head and glanced at Luotong before saying with a grin, "So it's little girl Luotong. You're becoming more and more beautiful as you grow. You're even more beautiful than that beautiful master of yours." Luotong giggled. Senior Zhou Cheng must be joking. She then continued, "My grandfather has always been thinking about you. Since you've come to the Xinwu continent, do you have time to visit the Luo family?" The grandfather she was referring to was the sword god Luo Ning. When the sloppy old man heard this, he mocked, "That brat Luo Ning must be thinking about my special technique. Your grandfather has evil intentions, so tell him to take care of himself." Luotong was startled and she smiled awkwardly. Senior Zhou Cheng must be joking. The sloppy old man ignored Luotong. and his gaze fell on Lu Yiping. "May I know who your master is?" Lu Yiping shook his head. "I don't have a master." If Huang Xiaolong was talking about his master, it would be the Grand Mist artifact, the Fortune Jade Disc. His 1,000 grandas came from the Fortune Jade Disc. Although he was an ancient cultivator and had made his name in the ancient times, his true body was naturally extraordinary. Since he had gained consciousness, the Fortune Jade Disc had been with him. Upon hearing Lu Yiping say that he had no master, the sloppy old man Zhou Cheng was greatly surprised. No master? He looked suspiciously at Lu Yiping, clearly suspecting that Lu Yiping was unwilling to reveal his master. He hesitated for a moment, then took out a jade pendant from his bosom and said, "This jade pendant is an ancient artifact. I wonder if little friend is willing to exchange it with me?" He stared at the jar of wine in front of Lu Yiping. Lu Yiping glanced at the jade pendant and was surprised. He muttered, "Do you know the origin of this jade pendant?" Old man Zhou Cheng shook his head. "I only know that this is an ancient artifact. It must be extraordinary, worth at least 100 million. The 100 million he spoke of was naturally referring to 100 million divine-grade spirit stones. He had obtained this jade pendant from the Phantom Demon King's cultivation dwelling. He had studied it for many years, but had not found anything useful. Lu Yiping took out a jar of wine from the heaven and earth cauldron, and threw it to old man Zhou Cheng. Old man Zhou Cheng did not expect Lu Yiping to have another jar of wine. He caught the jar of wine and opened the lid. The aroma of wine assailed his nostrils. Old man Zhou Cheng hurriedly closed the lid and threw the jade pendant to Lu Yiping. He grinned and said, "Many thanks, little friend. Until we meet again." This jade pendant was not of much use to him. Being able to exchange it for Lu Yiping's jar of good wine was naturally a good thing. He put away the jar of wine and left on his donkey, completely ignoring Luotong. Luotong shouted, "Senior Zhou Cheng, wait. I have prepared a few jars of good wine for you." Old man Zhou Cheng rode on his donkey but did not turn back. He waved his hand behind him, indicating that he did not want it. Luotong opened her mouth but did not shout. She could only watch helplessly as old man Zhou Cheng rode away on his donkey. Old man Zhou Cheng quickly disappeared into the sea of flowers in the 100-blossom plain, leaving behind only the fragrance of flowers. Luotong turned around and looked at Lu Yiping. Her gaze landed on the jade pendant in Lu Yiping's hand. She smiled sweetly. "How should I address young master? Can you give this jade pendant to me?" Her voice was soft and filled with charm. "Give it to you?" Lu Yiping smiled faintly. This lass had just used the bewitching demonic voice. If his willpower was not strong enough, he would have nodded. But from his words he was going to give it to her for free? Did she really think that anything in the world could be given to her if she wanted it? Then again, with her looks, it was true that many men would fall head over heels for her. When Luotong saw the clear look in Lu Yiping's eyes that were filled with mockery, she couldn't help but be stunned for a moment before a smile appeared on her face. "And as long as young master gives me the jade pendant, I will give you 100 million divine-grade spirit stones." Taurus Longjiao had already stopped chewing on the meat and snorted, "Little girl, your bewitching demonic voice is far inferior compared to goddess Luo Shui's." He then looked at Luotong from head to toe. "Of course, you are also far inferior to goddess Luo Shui's." "What did you say?" One of the guards behind Luotong stepped forward. Indifferent, he stared at Taurus Longjiao. The saber at his waist hummed endlessly. Luotong shook her head at the guard leader, then smiled at Lu Yiping. "I didn't expect young master to know about the bewitching demonic voice." After a pause, she continued, "Since young master is unwilling to part with the jade pendant, Luotong will not force you." She then returned to the carriage. The convoy slowly left. Taurus Longjiao looked at the departing convoy and said to Lu Yiping, "Just now, that beggar said that this girl's grandfather has evil intentions. I don't think this girl is a good person either." Lu Yiping returned to his seat beside the bonfire, picked up the jade pendant, and examined it carefully. Taurus Longjiao also stared at the jade pendant and asked uncertainly, "This is Dragon Han jade?" Lu Yiping nodded. There were a total of 5 pieces of Dragon Han jade, and they were not items from ancient times. Instead, they were items from the prehistoric era, and this was only one of them. According to legend, if all 5 of them were collected, one could obtain the supreme techniques of the primordial origin dragon, primordial origin phoenix, and water and fire qilin. Lu Yiping put away the dragon Han jade and thought of the good fortune jade disc. He did not know where the other 23 discs were. After Luotong left, she headed towards the Soaring Flower sect. Miss, that young man doesn't know how to appreciate favors. If it were up to me, we should have just taken action and snatched the jade pendant, the guard leader said to Luotong, who was in the carriage. Luotong shook her head. This young man is actually unaffected by my bewitching demonic voice. He's not simple. She then muttered, that old man Zhou Cheng shouldn't have come to the Xinwu continent for no reason. Could he have come for the Sky God River? The guard leader guessed. The night slowly passed. Lu Yiping's group continued on their way. By the time they arrived at the Soaring Flower sect, the sky was already bright. When Lu Yiping's group arrived at the Soaring Flower sect's main gate, they were stopped by the sect's disciples. Our Soaring Flower sect is not receiving any guests today. Please return. Because of Luotong's arrival, the Soaring Flower sect refused to receive any guests, as they were afraid that they would disturb Luotong. Chapter 52. You're not receiving guests? Taurus Longjiao chuckled when he heard this. He then raised his huge bull leg and stomped down on the ground. It was as if a giant pillar had struck the ground of the Soaring Flower Gate. At this time, Soaring Flower Gate's patriarch Jilin and Luotong, as well as Soaring Flower Gate's ancestor Sun Feng, Tao Feng, and the others were gathered in the same hall. The Flora Empress Jiyu was also present. When they heard that Luotong had come to the Soaring Flower Gate, the Flora Empress and the Flora Empire's experts had arrived early. Everyone was chatting and laughing. Suddenly, Soaring Flower Gate's ancestor Sun Feng spoke. Gatemaster, that Lu Yiping killed our Soaring Flower Gate's Grand Elder Kujia. Is our Soaring Flower Gate going to let this matter go? Everyone in the hall stopped talking. Oh, that Lu Yiping killed the Soaring Flower Gate's Grand Elder? Luotong was stunned. Jilin nodded, but her expression was somewhat unnatural. Another ancestor, Tao Feng, coldly snorted. The Netherworld Devil Sex Su Xiao was ruthless and bloodthirsty all those years ago. I think that this Lu Yiping is even more ruthless and bloodthirsty than Su Xiao. If he's allowed to continue like this, who knows how many experts from the various sects and families on Xinwu continent will die at his hands. Back then, the various large sects joined forces to kill Su Xiao. We should also join forces with them to kill this kid. Luotong nodded. When I returned from the Tai sect, I also heard about this Lu Yiping. Everyone says that he is ruthless and cruel, and that he is a true devil. Her tone then changed as she continued. The Wan family actually ignored such a devil and did not act to suppress him. I think that Wan Wudi is unworthy of being the master of the Xinwu continent. Her tone was filled with dissatisfaction towards the Wan family and Wan Wudi. The Luo family was the second most powerful family on the Xinwu continent, and their relationship with the Wan family had never been good. The Luo family had always wanted to be the master of the Xinwu continent. Jiyu wanted to defend Lu Yiping, but she hesitated and did not say anything in the end. In fact, everyone knew who was the one who spread these rumors. Right at this moment, a loud explosion shook the heavens, and the entire Soaring Flower Gate shook violently. Countless sand and dust fell from the roof of the Soaring Flower Gate's main hall, and many cracks actually appeared in the main hall. As for the ground outside the main hall, it cracked open. The Soaring Flower Gate's sect master Jilin, Luotong, and the others who were chatting in the main hall were shocked. What's going on? Inside the main hall, everyone stood up in shock and flew out of the main hall. Taking a closer look, Zhang Xian could see the mountain peaks of the Soaring Flower Gate. Boulders were rolling down the mountain, and valleys were still extending into the distance. Enemy attack. Terrified voices could be heard all over the mountain peaks of the Soaring Flower sect. One by one, the female disciples of the Soaring Flower sect flew up into the air, their faces filled with shock. Enemy attack. The Soaring Flower sect's sect master, Jilin's beautiful face sank. Although the Soaring Flower sect had conflicts with other sects, after being established for so many years, this was the first time someone had fought their way to the Soaring Flower sect's headquarters. Hundred Blossom Empress Jiyu and Luotong were also dumbfounded. Coming to my Soaring Flower Gate's headquarters to create trouble. You're seeking death. Soaring Flower Gate's ancestor Sun Fang's face sank. Let's go over and take a look. Soaring Flower Gate's sect master Ji Lin said solemnly. She then took the lead, flying towards the main entrance. At the same time, she ordered one of the Soaring Flower Gate's grand elders beside her. Gather all Soaring Flower Gate's elders and grand elders. Prepare to activate the Soaring Flower Grand Formation at any time to welcome the enemy. That Soaring Flower Gate's Grand Elder complied respectfully and left to pass down the order. Soaring Flower Gate's ancestor Sun Fang, Tao Feng, and the other Grand Elders followed closely behind Soaring Flower Gate's sect master Ji Lin. 100 Blossom Empress Ji Yu and Luotong followed closely behind. At this time, outside the Soaring Flower Gate's main entrance, the several Soaring Flower Gate's disciples who had stopped Lu Yiping's war chariot were looking at the golden bull pulling the chariot in front of them. Under the Taurus Longjiao's feet, the ground was densely covered in cracks. This was the source of all the cracks on Soaring Flower Gate's mountain peaks. Endless earth energy was seeping out from the cracks on the ground. Lu Yiping sat on the war chariot, looking at the horizon. On the horizon, countless black dots were flying in his direction at high speed. They were none other than Soaring Flower Gate sect master Ji Lin, Luotong, and 100 Blossom Empress Ji Yu. From afar, 100 Blossom Empress Ji Yu saw the Taurus Longjiao's war chariot reflecting a mesmerizing light under the sunlight. She also saw the blue-robed young man on the war chariot. Looking at that familiar face, 100 Blossom Empress Ji Yu's face tightened, and her heart skipped a beat. It's him. Even Luotong was dumbfounded. Wasn't this the blue-robed young man they met on the way here? Indifferent expressions appeared on the leader of the guards behind Luotong when he saw Lu Yiping from afar. So, it's this brat. He's really courting death. Hearing that, Soaring Flower Gate's ancestor Sun Fang asked, "You know this young man?" The leader of the guards answered, "We met him on the way here. This brat was disrespectful to our young Mississippi. I wanted to teach him a lesson on the way here, but young Miss put in a good word for him, so I didn't do anything." Everyone turned to look at Luotong. Luotong nodded, acknowledging the leader's words. 100 Blossom Empress Ji Yu had a strange expression on her face. Just as she was about to speak, she saw Soaring Flower Gate sect master Ji Lin's group speeding up, flying towards the war chariot. In the blink of an eye, Soaring Flower Gate sect master Ji Lin's group arrived in front of the war chariot. The moment they arrived, Soaring Flower Gate's ancestor Sun Fang saw the blue-robed young man sitting on the war chariot. This blue-robed young man clearly saw their arrival, yet he was still leisurely playing with the little golden bird. Soaring Flower Gate sect master Ji Lin and Luotong frowned. "Brat, which sect are you from? Roll down from the war chariot." Sun Fang's claw reached out, pulling Lu Yiping down from the war chariot. On the war chariot, Lu Yiping didn't move an inch. Sun Fang, Soaring Flower Gate sect master Ji Lin, Luotong, and the rest were dumbfounded. As Soaring Flower Gate's ancestor, although Sun Fang wasn't the strongest, she was still an early divine spirit realm expert. Yet she couldn't catch this blue-robed young man. Right at this time, the war chariot suddenly emitted a shocking force, sending Sun Fang flying. Sun Fang rolled on the ground, her chest smashing into a boulder at the foot of a mountain. Boulders flew everywhere. The Soaring Flower Gate's experts glared at Lu Yiping in anger. 100 Blossom Empress Ji Yu, who had just arrived, shouted anxiously, "Stop!" She then walked past the crowd, heading towards the war chariot. "Big sis, what are you doing?" Soaring Flower Gate sect master Ji Lin, and the rest were bewildered by 100 Blossom Empress action. Before everyone's eyes, 100 Blossom Empress Ji Yu walked to the war chariot, bowed slightly, and said to Lu Yiping, "Master Lu, it's been 10 days since we last met at the Big Dipper Emperor Palace. We meet again." Everyone was stunned. Master Lu? Big Dipper Emperor Palace? Wasn't the Big Dipper Empire celebration a few days ago? Judging from 100 Blossom Empress words, she had seen this young man at the Big Dipper Empire celebration. Moreover, it wasn't as simple as just seeing him. Chapter 53. Lu Yiping had a good impression of Blossom Empress Ji Yu and nodded at her. Everyone was surprised to see this. Blossom Empress Ji Yu had personally bowed to greet him, but this young man only nodded at her? Just as everyone was guessing Lu Yiping's identity, 100 Blossom Empress Ji Yu turned to Soaring Blossom sect leader Ji Lin and said, "Younger sister, this is young master Lu Yiping." Lu Yiping. Many of the Soaring Flower sect's experts were shocked. Even Luo Tong and the experts around her were shocked. Especially the guard leader, whose expression changed. Experts from other continents might not be familiar with the name Lu Yiping, but Lu Yiping's name was like thunder to many of the Xinwu continent's experts. Sect Master Ji Lin's expression changed, but she forced a smile and said to Lu Yiping, "So it's Master Lu. May I know why Master Lu has come to my Soaring Flower sect?" Looking at Lu Yiping's attitude, it could not be anything good. The Soaring Flower sect's ancestor Tao Feng, who had been clamoring to join forces with the other major sects to kill Lu Yiping, did not utter a word. "What's the matter?" Lu Yiping glanced at the Soaring Flower Gate sect master Ji Lin. With a flick of his finger, the Soaring Flower Gate's ancestor Sun Fang, who had been sent flying earlier, automatically floated into the air and arrived in front of Lu Yiping. Seeing this, Soaring Flower sect's sect master Ji Lin hurriedly said, "Young Master Lu, just now, Patriarch Sun Fang did not know your identity and attacked you recklessly. I beg for young Master Lu's forgiveness and not to hold it against him." Lu Yiping ignored sect master Ji Lin and looked at ancestor Sun Fang. Ancestor Sun Fang had suffered from the war chariot's recoil, and his armor had been shattered. His hair was disheveled, and his eyes were filled with fear as he looked at Lu Yiping. "Were you the one who ordered Kujia to kill the Azura's Gate overlord and a group of eminent elders?" Lu Yiping asked in a cold voice. Sun Fang's heart skipped a beat, her voice trembling as she said, "Master Lu, I'm innocent. I have no grudge with the Azura's Gate. How could I have ordered Kujia to kill the Azura's Gate patriarch and a group of eminent elders?" The Soaring Flower sect's experts looked at each other. Who would have thought that Lu Yiping was here for the Azura Gate? Soaring Flower Gate's ancestor Tao Feng gathered her courage and stepped forward. "That's right, Master Lu. Ancestor Sun Fang has no grudge with the Azura's Gate. How could she order Kujia to kill the Azura's Gate patriarch and a group of eminent elders? Ancestor Sun Fang rarely leaves the Soaring Flower Gate. How could she have crossed paths with the Azura Gate?" Lu Yiping didn't look at her and began to search Sun Fang's soul. Soon the soul-searching ended. Lu Yiping's face turned cold. Seeing that Lu Yiping was about to kill ancestor Sun Fang, Soaring Flower Gate's patriarch Ji Lin hurriedly said, "Master Lu, if ancestor Sun Fang is really the culprit, we will punish her according to the sect's rules and give Master Lu a satisfactory explanation. Master Lu, please hand ancestor Sun Fang over to our Soaring Flower Gate to be punished." Luo Tong also stepped forward and said, "Even if ancestor Sun Fang is the culprit, she doesn't deserve to die. I hope you won't kill the innocent." "Doesn't deserve to die?" Lu Yiping snorted. With a casual twist of his hand, ancestor Sun Fang's head was twisted off. The Soaring Flower Gate's experts were shocked. Both Soaring Flower Gate's patriarch Ji Lin and Luo Tong's expressions were ugly. Lu Yiping looked coldly at Luo Tong. She gave the order to kill nearly 100 Azura Gate's experts, and ordered the Thousand Devil sect to annihilate nearly 10,000 Azura Gate disciples. Even the old, weak women and children were cruelly killed. According to you, she doesn't deserve to die for giving the order to annihilate an Azura Gate. She needs to annihilate more sects like the Azura Gate before Sun Fang dies, right? Luo Tong's face flushed red, and at the same time she was furious. She didn't expect that Lu Yiping would not only ignore her words, he even questioned her in front of everyone. She was the Luo family's daughter, and her master was the extreme E sect's ancestor Jiang Susu. Jiang Yu was her martial uncle, and no one had ever embarrassed her like this. At this time, Lu Yiping found a map inside Soaring Flower Gate's ancestor Sun Fang's spatial ring. This was the Azura Gate. Sun Fang had given the order to annihilate the Azura Gate because of this map. Lu Yiping suddenly looked at Soaring Flower Gate's ancestor Tao Feng. "The other half of this map is with you, right?" Aside from Sun Fang, there was another Soaring Flower Gate's ancestor who had submitted to Dark Demon Hall, and that was Tao Feng. She was also involved in the annihilation of the Azura Gate. When Tao Feng heard Lu Yiping ask about the other half of the map, her face turned pale, and she retreated to Soaring Flower Gate's sect master Ji Lin's side. "Sect master, this Lu Yiping is a merciless killer. First, he killed our Soaring Flower Gate's Grand Elder Kujia at Black Sea Mountain. Now, he has come to our headquarters to kill our Soaring Flower Gate's old ancestor Sun Fong. Sect Master, please activate the Soaring Flower Formation and kill him. The Soaring Flower Formation was Soaring Flower Gate's strongest formation, and it had been created by the sect's founder. Later on, Soaring Flower Gate had paid a huge price to invite the Xinwu continent's #1 formation master, Chen Qingyang, to strengthen this formation. At this time, countless sounds of breaking wind could be heard as the other Soaring Flower Gate's ancestors rushed over from their ancestral grounds. In the blink of an eye, the other 9 ancestors arrived. When the Soaring Flower Gate's ancestors arrived and saw Sun Fong's headless corpse, their expressions turned ugly. Lu Yiping, you're too presumptuous. It's not enough that you killed Soaring Flower Gate's Grand Elder Kujia. Now, you've come to our headquarters to kill our ancestor Sun Fong. One of the ancestors, an old woman holding a walking stick with a phoenix head, glared at Lu Yiping. Do you really think that our Soaring Flower Gate is a place where you can kill whoever you want? This old woman was Ji Lin's master, Hu Ying. She was also the previous sect master of Soaring Flower Gate, and the strongest person in the Soaring Flower Gate. She was a late-stage true god. However, the moment her words left her mouth, she saw Lu Yiping pulling the Soaring Flower sect's ancestor Tao Feng in front of him. Without any expression on his face, he twisted Tao Feng's head off as well. Tao Feng was the same as Sun Fong, an early-stage true god. Everyone was dumbfounded. Ji Lin's master, Hu Ying, was so angry that her face turned green. Her eyes were so cold that the surrounding air seemed to freeze. Lu Yiping's expression remained unchanged as he searched for the other half of the map from Soaring Flower Gate's ancestor Tao Feng's spatial ring. Seeing this, Hu Ying's eyes turned even colder. Master! Ji Lin knew what her master was thinking and wanted to persuade her. Activate the Soaring Flower Grand Array. Hu Ying's cold voice sounded. All the Soaring Flower Gate's experts felt a chill in their hearts. In a flash, they flew to the various peaks of the Soaring Flower Gate. In an instant, rays of light shot out from the Soaring Flower Gate's peaks like a waterfall, intertwining in the air above the Soaring Flower Gate. Layers of energy fell from the sky, locking onto Lu Yiping and the war chariot. The late-stage True God Realm Master, Hu Ying, landed on the peak of the Soaring Flower Gate's main hall. Her walking stick flew up and stabbed into the center of the square in front of the main hall. The Soaring Flower Grand Array was fully activated. The surging energy of the Grand Array alerted the Soaring Flower Gate's experts. Chapter 54. One by one, the patriarchs of various sects appeared in the air and looked in the direction of the House of Petals. That's the Grand Petals Formation. The House of Petals has fully activated it. Lin Xiong, the strongest patriarch of the Joyflower Palace, said in shock. The Grand Petals Formation was the most powerful formation in the House of Petals, and was the cornerstone of the sect. Normally speaking, it wouldn't be fully activated unless the sect was in a life-or-death situation. Both the Joyflower Palace and the House of Petals were among the most powerful sects in the Hundred Flower Empire. The august patriarch of the House of Petals is no longer here, Empress Joyflower said. But the House of Petals has always been on good terms with Chen Qingyang. Who would dare to make a move against the House of Petals? Send someone to find out what's going on, Lin Xiong said, a very serious expression on his face. Even as everyone was speculating, Lu Yiping was standing in front of the House of Petals, looking at the fully activated Grand Petals Formation with a calm expression. Hu Ying and the other experts of the House of Petals were pouring God power and true energy into the formation, causing it to grow stronger and stronger. The Dragonhorn Golden Bull looked at the Flying Flower Formation, which was still increasing in power, and smiled. This Flying Flower Formation is quite beautiful. As the power of the Grand Petals Formation surged, numerous flower-shaped talismans appeared in the air. Bathed in the sunlight, the talismans seemed almost illusory and beautiful. Of course, Taurus Longjiao's words were filled with mockery, as if he were mocking the Grand Petals Formation. The Soaring Flower sect's ancestor Hu Ying's face sank when he heard the Dragon Horn Golden Bull's mocking words. How laughable! Let me tell you something. This formation was created by the august patriarch of the House of Petals, and was later strengthened by the exalted Chen Qingyang. Do you really think an ignorant ox like you can understand the power of this formation? With that he waved his hands. Falling petals. The talismans in the air began to spin like a sea of flowers, which then began to descend toward Taurus Longjiao, Lu Yiping, Zhang Jin and Zhao Wen. Kill them! Hu Ying shouted, his eyes flashing with cold light. Countless array talismans immediately surrounded Taurus Longjiao, Lu Yiping and the others. Taurus Longjiao raised his head and looked at the colorful array talismans falling from the sky. He did not make a move and allowed the array talismans to land on his body. Lu Yiping and the others were the same. In the distance, Luotong was startled when she saw that Lu Yiping and the others didn't dodge, and instead allowed the array talismans to submerge them. Miss, this Lu Yiping is either arrogant or an idiot when it comes to formations. Seeing this, the guard leader sneered. The great flying flower array talisman can even burn through the body of a late-stage true god. At this moment, countless talismans landed on Taurus Longjiao, Lu Yiping and the others. However, Taurus Longjiao had a look of enjoyment on his face as he said, comfortable. As for Lu Yiping and the others, their expressions remained the same. Whether it was Luotong or the guard leader, everyone's eyes widened in shock. Disbelief was written all over Soaring Flower Sect's ancestor Hu Ying's face. How can this be? The array talismans of the Great Flying Flower Array had gathered the power of the Earth's core fire. Peanut flower extermination. Soaring Flower Sect's ancestor Hu Ying's expression was ferocious. God force surged from his body, forming a sea of God force behind him as he poured his true God energy into the Great Flying Flower Array's core. Under Hu Ying's control, the array talismans in the sky suddenly turned gloomy. A power that came from darkness, death, and the cold world burst out. In the next moment, the array talismans that had turned gloomy suddenly shone with a dazzling radiance. A surge of light, vitality, and energy that seemed to come from the core of the sun emerged. These two forces collided continuously, producing a destructive force that erupted like a volcano, crashing down on the battle force. Looking at the incoming destructive force, the immortal golden phoenix in Lu Yiping's hand suddenly opened its mouth. A terrifying devouring force devoured the destructive force in the blink of an eye. Even the array talismans in the sky were affected by the devouring force and collapsed one by one. The Soaring Flower Sect's ancestor and Luotong's group were dumbfounded. Everyone's attention was on the little golden bird in Lu Yiping's hand. When Lu Yiping was playing with the little golden bird, no one paid attention to it, and no one would pay attention to it. This is... Luotong's beautiful eyes stared at the little golden bird, but she couldn't be sure. At this time the immortal golden phoenix opened its mouth again, spewing out terrifying flames. In an instant the sky was filled with a sea of fire. Countless giant golden fireballs fell on the Soaring Flower Sect's mountain peaks. Loud blasts shook the sky and the earth. The Soaring Flower Sect's mountain peaks were all shattered. The Soaring Flower Grand Formation's runes on the mountain peaks were incinerated to ashes. The several Soaring Flower Sect's ancestors who were in charge of the Grand Formation were sent flying. Their divine armors burned to ashes. The Soaring Flower Sect's ancestor Hu Ying's body was charred black. Even the hair on his body was burned away. She looked at the little golden bird in Lu Yiping's hand in horror, screaming, "Phoenix fire! This is Phoenix fire! The bird in your hand is a Phoenix divine beast." 100 Blossom Empress Jiyu Luotong and the others were shocked. The little golden bird Lu Yiping was playing with was actually a Phoenix divine beast. Although Luotong had guessed earlier, she thought it was just a descendant of a phoenix. Who would have thought it was a Phoenix divine beast? The phoenix was the king of all birds, the strongest of all flying divine beasts. Master! Soaring Flower Sect's patriarch Jilin came to her senses, rushing to Hu Ying's side. Soaring Flower Sect's ancestor Hu Ying opened his mouth and vomited blood. The destruction of the Great Flying Sky Array and the backlash from the array, coupled with the power of the phoenix flames, had worsened her injuries. "Let's go," Lu Yiping said calmly. The war chariot slowly left. In the blink of an eye, the chariot disappeared from everyone's sight. 100 Blossom Empress Jiyu looked at the devastated Soaring Flower Sect with complicated feelings, not knowing what to say. Luotong looked at the war chariot leaving, then at the blue figure saying, "I didn't expect this Lu Yiping to have so many treasures on him." First, the true version of the heavenly mammoth divine prison fist. the true version of the Divine Time Fist, and the true version of the Golden Flames Divine Fist. And now, it's the Phoenix Divine Beast. Soaring Flower Sex ancestor Huing looked at the war chariot leaving with shock, anger, and hatred in his eyes. After Lu Yiping's group left, Lu Yiping took out a flame essence and threw it to the immortal golden phoenix to refine as a reward. Master, where are we going next? Zhang Jin asked. To the Wan family. Lu Yiping said calmly. Didn't Wan Wudi want to see him? It was time to go to the Wan family. Lu Yiping's group didn't stay in the Hundred Blossom Empire any longer and left. Chapter 55. After leaving the Hundred Flowers Empire, Lu Yiping's group headed south. Several days later, Lu Yiping's group arrived at a desolate mountain range. High up in the sky, thunderclouds loomed over them, and strong winds howled. The night sky was as dark as ink, and it looked like it was about to rain. Although Lu Yiping's group wasn't afraid of a light rain with their cultivation, Lu Yiping didn't have the habit of traveling in a rainstorm. Therefore, seeing the light of a bonfire halfway up the mountain, Lu Yiping and Taurus Longjiao's group followed the light. Not long after, they arrived in front of a dilapidated temple. When Lu Yiping's group pushed open the door and entered, they saw a thin old man and an extremely tall and sturdy young man sitting around a bonfire, roasting meat. The fragrance of the meat filled the air. When the old man and young man saw Lu Yiping's group enter, they stood up and looked warily at Lu Yiping's group. Gentlemen, we were passing by and came in to rest. Sorry to disturb you, Lu Yiping said to the two. The old man glanced at Lu Yiping and smiled. Little brother is too polite. This temple isn't ours and we just entered. If little brother doesn't mind, why don't you join us? Lu Yiping didn't refuse and sat down beside the bonfire. The young man looked at Taurus Longjiao in surprise and asked, Big brother, where did you buy this cow? Clearly, this was his first time seeing a golden cow. The old man also looked at Taurus Longjiao with a deep gaze. Lu Yiping smiled. No. Then he added, I stole it. Stole it? Both the young man and the old man were surprised. Taurus Longjiao smiled. This grandpa is the one and only Taurus Longjiao in the world. I am the lord of myriad demons, ancestor of the thunder god, emperor of the dragon race. Here it comes again. After so many years, Taurus Longjiao's old habits still hadn't changed. In ancient times, Taurus Longjiao would introduce himself to almost everyone he met, using the same words and the same tone. The old man and the young man were stunned. Lu Yiping smiled at the old man and the young man. This cow of mine loves to brag. Don't take it seriously. The young man smiled innocently. I used to have a pet bull too. Its temperament is quite similar to yours. What about your pet bull? Taurus Longjiao asked. The young man's face was filled with sorrow. He's dead. He was killed by people from the Paradise sect a few days ago. Taurus Longjiao almost choked. They sat around the bonfire and started chatting. From the conversation with the old man and the young man, Lu Yiping found out that the master and disciple duo were heading to the celestial capital. The Wan clan was building a new legion, and the two of them were going there to apply and participate in the assessment. Master Lu is also going to the celestial capital? Old man Li Bin smiled. Then, shall we go together tomorrow? The Wan clan's headquarters was in the celestial capital. Lu Yiping said, that's fine too. The young man, Yonggang, asked, Master Lu, are you also going to apply for the assessment of the Wan clan's new legion? Lu Yiping was taken aback. He smiled and said, that's not it. He then said to old man Li Bin, you and your disciples' foundation and battle strength are not bad. It shouldn't be a problem for you to take the Wan clan's new legion. Li Bin was in the ancient emperor realm, and although Yonggang was in the Violet Palace realm, he had the Titan Giant's bloodline. Although the Titan Giant's bloodline was a little thin, it wasn't a problem for him to sweep through ordinary experts in the same realm. The Titan Giant was a very powerful race in ancient times. As for Li Bin, his blood qi was like the sea, and his internal organs contained the energy of the 5 elements. It was obvious that he had swallowed 5 elemental treasures and cultivated a good cultivation technique. Even if the two of them joined the Wan clan's new legion, they would definitely pass the assessment. Hearing this, old man Li Bin smiled brightly and said, Thank you for your kind words, Master Lu. After a pause, he continued. If Master Lu participates in the Wan clan's new legion recruitment, I'm sure he'll pass with 100% success rate. Taurus Longjiao, who was eating barbecued meat, quickly swallowed the meat in his mouth and grinned. You want our master to be a soldier for the Wan clan? Even if our master is willing, the Wan clan wouldn't dare to accept him. At this time it was raining heavily outside. Suddenly, someone pushed the door open and entered. The door of the temple was already a little shabby, and when it was pushed by the other party, the door swayed with a clang, as if it was about to fall apart. It was a large group of people. The leader of the group was a man and a woman. The man was handsome and extraordinary, and the woman was very delicate and pretty. Behind them was a large group of guards. When Old Man Li Bin saw the large group of guards, his face changed. These were the Wan clan's guards. This man and woman were the Wan clan's core disciples? Only the Wan clan's core disciples were qualified to bring along the Wan clan's special guards. After entering, the man's eyes swept over Lu Yiping's group. Then he smiled at the woman. Sister Lian, let's go sit over there. The woman nodded. The two of them walked over to the bonfire. The man said to Li Bin and Lu Yiping, do you mind if we sit down? Although his words were polite, he didn't wait for Li Bin and Lu Yiping to open their mouths and sat down casually. The woman also sat down. The man approached Lu Yiping and sat down. Feeling the space was too small, he said to Lu Yiping, Brat, get up and sit on the opposite side. His tone was commanding. It seemed like he had been in a high position for a long time, and was used to ordering his subordinates. Lu Yiping's expression was indifferent. What if I don't get up? The man was stunned, then he laughed. Brat, I'm already being polite by asking you to get up and sit on the opposite side. It's raining heavily outside. I haven't asked you to scram yet. At this time Taurus Longjiao's palm slapped over, sending the man flying out of the dilapidated temple. The woman had just sat down when she saw the man being sent flying out of the temple by Taurus Longjiao. She was dumbfounded. Everything happened so suddenly that none of the Wan clan's guards expected Taurus Longjiao to make a move. You're all courting death. One of the Wan clan's guards was enraged. He brandished the saber in his hand, slashing at Taurus Longjiao. The other guards also made their move. This time Taurus Longjiao did not make a move. Instead, Zhao Wen snorted coldly. Lightning surged out from his body, turning into a shocking lightning dragon. The Wan clan's guards were sent flying by the lightning dragon. In the temple, only the sound of burning wood could be heard. The woman's expression changed. Taurus Longjiao stared at the woman. She stood up in shock and flew out of the temple like a bird startled by the twang of a bow. The Wan clan's guards who were blasted out of the temple also fled with the Wan clan's disciples. Old Man Li Bin opened his mouth and smiled bitterly. Master Lu, you've caused trouble just now. That man and woman should be Wan clan's core disciples, and that group of guards should be Wan clan's guards. So what if they're Wan clan's core disciples? Taurus Longjiao laughed. We've even blasted the Wan clan's patriarch. Old Man Li Bin was stunned, then laughed. Brother Xiaojin is joking. He hesitated, then cupped his fists and said, Brother Lu, we still have some matters to attend to, so we'll take our leave first. Lu Yiping nodded. Old Man Li Bin was obviously afraid that if they continued to stay with him, the Wan clan's disciples would misunderstand and be implicated. Hence, Old Man Li Bin led his disciple Yonggang out of the temple, disappearing into the rain in the blink of an eye. After Old Man Li Bin left, Lu Yiping suddenly spoke to the void in the distance. You've been following us all this time, it's time to come out. Chapter 56. The other party didn't seem to have expected Lu Yiping to discover him. After a while, a sloppy old man riding on a donkey descended from the sky. This sloppy old man was the old man Lu Yiping had met in the 100 Flowers Plains, Zhou Cheng. The sloppy old man Zhou Cheng rode his donkey into the dilapidated temple. He jumped off the donkey and said to Lu Yiping with a smile, I didn't expect that even after I used the phantom evasion technique, I still couldn't fool young Master Lu. Lu Yiping's expression remained the same. Back then, even the Phantom Demon King couldn't escape from him using the phantom evasion technique. Much less this old man Zhou Cheng. This old man Zhou Cheng might be very powerful in the current eternity plane, But compared to the Phantom Demon King of the past, he was still far from it. Lu Yiping glanced at the sloppy old man Zhou Cheng and said, "What's the matter?" Actually, Zhou Cheng had been following them ever since they left the Hundred Flowers Empire. However, Lu Yiping couldn't be bothered to pay attention to him. Zhou Cheng grinned, revealing his yellow teeth. Then, he sat beside the bonfire and rubbed his hands. "Actually, it's nothing big. Just a small matter." As for what small matter, he didn't say. However, Lu Yiping didn't ask and continued to roast the meat. Taurus Longjiao stared at the donkey and smiled. "I say, little guy, are you selling this donkey? I just happen to be in need of a mount." Just like Lu Yiping, he had long noticed that this donkey was extraordinary and was drooling over it. Zhou Cheng had a strange expression when he heard this. In his mind, he imagined an ox riding a donkey. However, the donkey glared at Taurus Longjiao and said, "Are you selling your fur?" Taurus Longjiao was taken aback. He glared and said, "Hey, you little donkey, you have quite a temper." He then added, "Do you believe that I won't pluck all your hair right now and roast you?" Zhou Cheng ignored the bickering between the two beasts. He smiled at Lu Yiping and said, "Master Lu, do you still have that wine?" He looked rather embarrassed. Lu Yiping looked at him with a smile that was not a smile. "Of course I do. Do you still have jade?" He was referring to dragon jade. Unexpectedly, Zhou Cheng nodded and said with a smile, "I have another piece." Then he took out a piece of jade that was exactly the same as the one he gave to Lu Yiping. Lu Yiping was surprised. He had just asked casually. He didn't expect Zhou Cheng to actually have another piece. There were a total of 5 pieces of Dragon Han jade, and this Zhou Cheng actually had 2. Lu Yiping took out a jar of wine and threw it to the other party. Zhou Cheng took the wine and couldn't wait to open it. Only then did he throw the jade to Lu Yiping. After throwing the jade to Lu Yiping, Zhou Cheng leaned close to the lid of the wine jar and took a deep sniff. His saliva flowed and his face was intoxicated. He wanted to drink but couldn't bear to. Lu Yiping saw that Zhou Cheng was drooling but couldn't bear to drink. He smiled and said, "Don't tell me you finished your jar?" It had only been a few days. Zhou Cheng smiled and said, No. How could I bear to finish such a good wine? I only drink a small sip every day. Just a small sip." He emphasized a small sip twice. But from the looks of it, it was definitely not just a small sip every day. Lu Yiping smiled and said, "Do you still have more of this jade?" Although Dragon Han jade was a treasure, it was only useful when all 5 pieces were gathered. Zhou Cheng shook his head and said with a serious face, "I only have 2 pieces. I really don't have any more this time." Lu Yiping stared at the other party. "Where did you find this jade?" Zhou Cheng giggled and said, "Does this count as a transaction?" Lu Yiping took out another jar of wine and opened it. Instantly, the fragrance of wine filled the entire rundown temple, and even overflowed outside. Even the heavy rain outside couldn't wash away this wine fragrance. Zhou Cheng's eyes widened as he stared at the jar of wine in front of Lu Yiping. His eyes burned with passion and his breathing became different. The wine in front of Lu Yiping had a stronger wine fragrance. It was obvious that it was older than the 2 jars he had. Lu Yiping had stayed in the sacred forest for countless years. Other than cultivating, he had been brewing wine. Every 10,000 years, he would brew a batch. Although the ingredients were the same, the age was different. Therefore, the taste was different. The older the wine, the more fragrant it was. Lu Yiping said, "This jade has 5 pieces. If you tell me where you found it and help me find the remaining 5 pieces, this jar of wine is yours. The 2 jars you have are 200,000 years old, and this jar is 400,000 years old. 400,000 years old." Zhou Cheng swallowed hard. He stared fixedly at the jar of wine, but after a long time he smiled bitterly and said, "It's not that I don't want to tell young master the location of the other 3 pieces of jade. It's because I found this jade in the Phantom Demon King's abode. The abode does not have the other 3 pieces. However," he suddenly added, "there are some places in the Phantom Demon King's abode that I can't enter. Maybe there are some inside." The Phantom Demon King was a powerful ancient demon king. The abode was covered in layers of restrictions, and Zhou Cheng could only break a small part of it. "Oh." Lu Yiping's eyes lit up at Zhou Cheng's words. "I'll tell you where the Phantom Demon King's abode is. But I want 2 jars of 400,000 years old. Zhou Cheng stuttered. Moreover, if you have a way to enter other places in the Phantom Demon King's abode, other than the other 3 pieces of jade, I want a third of the other treasures. Lu Yiping looked at Zhou Cheng and smiled. Aren't you afraid that I'll capture you and search your soul? Zhou Cheng's wrinkled face twitched, and he smiled. Master Lu must be joking. Master Lu is not that kind of person. Lu Yiping smiled and said, Then tell me, what kind of person am I? Zhou Cheng stuttered for a long time but couldn't say anything. Lu Yiping didn't make things difficult for Zhou Cheng, and threw the 2 jars of 400,000 years old wine to him. Zhou Cheng's face was filled with joy, and he put away the 3 jars of wine like they were treasures. Then he told Lu Yiping a place. Lu Yiping was surprised. The Phantom Demon King's abode was actually at that place? However, Zhou Cheng didn't leave after getting the wine. Instead, he sat by the bonfire, eating barbecued meat and drinking wine with Lu Yiping. Of course, he drank in small mouthfuls. Lu Yiping drank in big mouthfuls. The donkey also sat by the bonfire, nibbling on the barbecued meat. The donkey was very skinny, as if it was malnourished. It ate the barbecued meat absent-mindedly like a sissy. The Taurus Longjiao, on the other hand, was chewing until its mouth was covered in oil. It was very manly. You're not leaving? Lu Yiping asked Zhou Cheng. Zhou Cheng smiled and said, I'm roaming the world anyway, and it's very boring to be alone. Why not follow young master? It'll be livelier to have someone to keep me company, and I can run errands for young master in the future. Lu Yiping grunted. He obviously knew what Zhou Cheng was planning, but since he wanted to follow, he didn't mind. The night slowly faded. The rain stopped. In the morning after the rain, the air was especially fresh. Lu Yiping, Taurus Longjiao, and the others left the temple and continued on their way towards the Wan family. Chapter 57. Lu Yiping put away the chariot and rode on the Taurus Longjiao. The ox was very fat, while the sloppy old man Zhou Cheng rode on the donkey. The donkey was very thin and small. The 2 of them rode side by side on the mountain road. Zhang Jin and Zhao Wen followed behind them on their 2 Thunder Kirin horses. Zhou Cheng looked at the Taurus Longjiao's unusually thick leg and smiled at Lu Yiping. This ox of yours often eats roasted meat? No wonder it's so thick. The Taurus Longjiao chuckled. I was born with it. Then it raised its thick leg and showed off the powerful beef on it. What, are you jealous? The donkey didn't like the Taurus Longjiao and pursed its lips. It looks good, but it's useless. Who would be jealous of this thing? The Taurus Longjiao sneered. Do you think someone as skinny as you is only good-looking but useless? Immediately, the donkey and the ox glared at each other. Lu Yiping smiled and didn't stop them. It was rare for the donkey and the Taurus Longjiao to bicker, so the journey wasn't so boring. Seeing the 2 beasts bickering, Zhou Cheng smiled at Lu Yiping. Master Lu, your ox is quite interesting. Lu Yiping smiled. The group continued on their journey. Not long after, they passed through this barren mountain range. However, not long after they passed through the wilderness, they heard the sound of fighting. They got closer. Lu Yiping was surprised to see that the fighting was between Li Bin and Yonggang, who had left the ruined temple last night. The 2 of them were surrounded by a group of experts in red robes. The red robes worn by this group of experts were very beautiful. Paradise Chapter. Zhou Cheng looked at the group of experts in red robes and curled his lips. This group of things that are neither men nor women. The Paradise sect was quite famous on the Xinwu continent, and their strength was on par with the Soaring Flower sect. However, the Paradise sect was much more famous than the Soaring Flower sect. The reason for this was simple. All of the disciples of the Paradise sect cultivated a technique called the Paradise Tome. After cultivating the Paradise Tome, their bodily functions would undergo a drastic change, and they would become neither male nor female. Although Li Bin and Yonggang weren't weak, they were surrounded by dozens of experts from the Paradise chapter and were in dire straits. Both of them had many wounds on their bodies. This was especially true for Yonggang, who had a chest wound that revealed his bones. Li Bin, who was surrounded by the people from the Paradise chapter, suddenly saw someone approaching from afar. He couldn't help but feel hopeful and shouted, Master Lu! Master Lu, please save my disciple! Lu Yiping signaled to Zhang Jin with his eyes. Zhang Jin understood, but he didn't make a move himself. The thunder-Qilin horse beneath him opened its mouth, and divine lightning fell from the sky. Immediately, the dozens of experts from the Paradise chapter surrounding Li Bin were all sent flying by the divine lightning. Li Bin was stunned. He hadn't expected Lu Yiping's mount to be so powerful. One had to know that there were 2 ancient emperors among the experts who had surrounded him. Moreover, they were both 7th-level ancient emperors. After recovering from his shock, Li Bin hurriedly brought his disciple Yonggang over to Lu Yiping's side. When they arrived in front of Lu Yiping, Li Bin and his disciple cupped their fists gratefully. "Thank you, Master Lu, for saving us." Lu Yiping nodded. With a flick of his finger, 9 reincarnation needles flew out and pierced into Yonggang's chest. A burst of fiery red light appeared, and Yonggang felt a warm sensation in his chest. Waves of warmth flowed throughout his body, and his injuries healed at an astonishing speed. Even the wound on his chest healed continuously. With Lu Yiping's strength, there were many ways to heal Yonggang's injuries in an instant. However, he was used to using the reincarnation needles in the ancient times. Until now, he had maintained this habit. "Soul returning 9 Yang needles!" Li Bin exclaimed. "Master Lu is from the Medicine King Hall?" Zhou Cheng was also surprised. This Lu Yiping actually had the soul returning 9 Yang needles from the Medicine King Hall? Could he be from the Medicine King Hall? The Paradise chapter's expert who had been sent flying by the thunder-Qilin horse crawled up. He was originally furious, but when he saw the soul-returning 9 Yang needles he was shocked. The Medicine King Hall healed the wounded and healed the dying. In the Hengyuan Plain they had a good relationship with all the major sections. Their prestige was second only to the Great Celestial Sect. Even the Martial God Hall's reputation was slightly inferior to the Medicine King Hall. Seeing that Li Bin and the others had misunderstood him as someone from the Medicine King Hall, Lu Yiping was too lazy to explain. Seeing that Yonggang's injuries had recovered, he retrieved the reincarnation needles. "How do you feel?" Lu Yiping asked Yonggang. Lu Yiping had a pretty good impression of this simple-minded young man, Yonggang. Yonggang circulated his true yuan, and his true yuan flowed smoothly. He smiled foolishly and said, "Master Lu is really a divine doctor. I'm completely healed." At this time, an ancient emperor realm leader of the Paradise chapter endured his injuries and stepped forward. He mustered up his courage and cupped his fists towards Lu Yiping. "May I ask if young master is from the Medicine King Hall?" He continued. "These 2 were ordered to be captured by our extreme ancestor." The extreme ancestor was one of the 2 strongest ancestors in the Paradise chapter. Lu Yiping looked at him indifferently, and the ancient emperor realm leader of the Paradise chapter hesitated, not daring to continue. "Let's go," Lu Yiping said to Taurus Longjiao. None of the Paradise chapter's experts dared to stop them. They watched as Lu Yiping led Li Bin and Yonggang away. "Elder, those 2 were ordered to be captured by the extreme ancestor. If we return empty-handed, the extreme ancestor will fly into a rage." One of the Paradise chapter's experts stuttered. Everyone shuddered at the thought of the extreme ancestor flying into a rage. The ancient emperor realm expert's face turned ugly as he said, "The Medicine King Hall's people interfered. If the extreme ancestor finds out, he won't punish us." At the same time he was bewildered. However, there are only a few people from the Medicine King Hall who know the 9 Yang returning needle. This young man is definitely not one of them. How can he know the 9 Yang returning needle? At this point, he turned to one of the Paradise chapter's experts and said, "Check if this young man is really from the Medicine King Hall." After leaving, Li Bin followed behind Lu Yiping with an embarrassed expression. He said to Lu Yiping, "Master Lu, about what happened last night, it's not your fault." Lu Yiping shook his head. The group continued to make stops along the way. They occasionally rested along the way. On the 3rd day, the Tian capital was in sight. The Tian capital was located at the peak of Shenwu continent's tallest mountain, Sun Moon Peak. It was the continent's #1 city. Lu Yiping and the others stood in the air and looked at the city. At the peak of Sun Moon Peak, the Tian capital was shrouded in clouds and mist. It was as ethereal as a celestial city. Even from a great distance, they could still feel the Tian capital's majestic aura. High up in the sky, spacecraft and war chariots from Xinwu continent, and even other continents were flying towards the Tian capital from all directions. After stopping for a while, Liu Yiping and the others also flew towards the Tian capital. The closer they got to the Tian capital, the more they could feel the city's size and majesty. All around the city, there were teams of soldiers from the Wan clan patrolling the area. Liu Yiping rode on a Taurus Longjiao and entered the city with Zhou Cheng and the others. Chapter 58. Zhou Cheng was riding on his little donkey, holding a wine gourd in his hand as he poured wine into his mouth. This wine was brewed by him. He couldn't bear to drink Liu Yiping's wine. In his words, Liu Yiping's wine should be drunk with Liu Yiping when they were eating barbecued meat. Liu Yiping was riding a golden bull, looking very handsome, while Zhou Cheng was riding a little donkey, looking very sloppy. The two of them walked side by side, attracting the attention of many passers-by. Zhou Cheng ignored the strange gazes of the passers-by, pouring wine into his mouth as he said, "Rumor has it that this sky capital city was built by the Lord of Myriad Gods. In the past, the Lord of Myriad Gods issued orders here, commanding the gods to fight for him. Every brick in this sky capital city is made from ancient fine granite." This was the first time Yonggang had heard of such a thing. He looked at the bricks on the street with amazement. "These bricks are all ancient objects?" Zhou Cheng nodded. "That's right. Don't look at these bricks as if they're ordinary bricks. Every brick in this sky capital city has been blessed by the ancient god's god force. Moreover, rumor has it that supreme existence had also blessed the sky capital city with god force. This sky capital city also has that supreme existence's imprint on it. Because of this, the sky capital city has been able to endure for countless years without decay." Speaking of that supreme existence, Zhou Cheng's face was filled with reverence, excitement, and worship. That supreme existence? Li Bin didn't know who Zhou Cheng was referring to. Zhou Cheng stopped pouring wine into his mouth, his face solemn as he slowly said, "Holy forest. Holy forest." When Zhou Cheng said those words, the surroundings fell silent. Li Bin's face changed greatly, but he didn't dare to speak, because that supreme existence was a taboo in the Hengyuan plain. But Yonggang was puzzled, asking, "Holy forest? Is it the holy forest at the end of the everlasting dynasty?" Usually no one dared to talk about the holy forest. Yonggang hadn't cultivated for long, so he hadn't heard anything about the holy forest. Li Bin was startled, his face stern as he shouted, "Li Gang, shut up." Liu Yiping, on the other hand, was calm. While Liu Yiping's group was walking inside the Tiandu city, a Wan family guard saw Liu Yiping's group and was stunned for a moment before turning around and running towards the Wan family army camp. This Wan clan guard was one of the Wan clan guards who had been blasted out of the dilapidated temple by Zhao Wan. At this time, the core disciple of the Wan family, Wan Bai, was drinking alone in the army barracks. These days, whenever he thought of the scene where he was slapped out of the dilapidated temple by that cow, he would be furious. As a core disciple of the Wan clan and the vice commander of the Wan clan army, this was the first time he had suffered such humiliation. Furthermore, he was slapped by a cow in front of the Wan family's guards and guards. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. He suddenly clenched his fist and crushed the wine cup in his hand into powder. Right at this moment, the Wan clan's guard ran in anxiously. "Lord Vice Commander, I saw that blue-robed young man just now," the Wan clan's guard said excitedly. "Blue-robed young man?" Wan Bai couldn't react in time. "That blue-robed young man from the dilapidated temple," the Wan clan's guard reminded. Wan Bai was overjoyed hearing that. "You're saying that blue-robed young man came to the Tiandu city?" The Wan clan's guard quickly replied, "Yes, Lord Vice Commander, and that cow." Wan Bai's eyes glinted coldly. "Gather everyone for me. I want to cut off that cow piece by piece. And that blue-robed brat, I want to tie him up on the execution ground in front of the Tiandu city's gates and slowly play with him." While Wan Bai was gathering the Wan clan's guards, Li Bin cupped his fists at Liu Yiping. "Master Liu, we'll go to the Wan clan's new army to register and participate in the assessment." "Go," Liu Yiping said. "After the assessment, Li Bin will hold a banquet to thank Master Liu for saving my life." Li Bin said gratefully, then saluted his disciple Yonggang before leaving. Zhou Cheng looked at Yanggong's departing figure, saying, "Pity, the Titan giant's bloodline is too thin." Then he grinned at Lu Yiping that, "Master Lu, I also have some matters to attend to, so I'll take my leave first. Let's meet at the Tiandu City Inn later?" Lu Yiping nodded. Thus Zhou Cheng also left on the little donkey. After Zhou Cheng left, Lu Yiping looked in the direction of the Wan clan's headquarters. The Wan clan's headquarters was located at the center of the Tiandu city, and it was also the residence of the myriad gods' sovereign. Lu Yiping rode the Taurus Longjiao to the Wan clan's headquarters. Soon he arrived at the Wan clan's headquarters. In front of the Wan clan's headquarters, Lu Yiping looked at the two strange stone statues in front of the building, and his heart was filled with mixed emotions. After so many years he had finally returned to this place. When the Wan clan's headquarters guard saw a blue-robed young man standing in front of the entrance staring at the strange stone statues without any intention of leaving, one of the guards stepped forward and said, "You can't stay in front of the Wan clan's headquarters, quickly leave." Lu Yiping glanced at the Wan clan's guard and said indifferently, "I am Lu Yiping. Tell your patriarch that I'm here." Lu Yiping. The Wan clan's guard froze for a second, then fled in a panic. He ran back into the Wan clan's headquarters, nearly crashing into the main entrance. The other Wan clan's guards who stayed behind were trembling in fear, their eyes fixed on Lu Yiping. They gripped the spears in their hands so tightly that their knuckles turned white. Lu Yiping's expression was calm as usual. Soon figures flickered inside the Wan clan's headquarters. A series of footsteps sounded. A group of Wan clan's experts rushed out from the Wan clan's residence. Leading the group was the Wan clan's patriarch Wan Cheng. Behind Wan Cheng was the Wan clan's young lord, Wan Hong, and a group of Wan clan's grand elders and elders. At first, the Wan clan's patriarch Wan Cheng was discussing the matter of the heavenly god river's reverse flow with his son, Wan Cheng, and the others. When a Wan clan's guard came in to report that Lu Yiping had arrived, Wan Cheng jumped in fright. In a fluster, he summoned all the grand elders and elders in the residence. When he came out, he also sent someone to report to all the ancestors in the ancestral land. Taurus Longjiao's mouth twitched when he saw the Wan clan's patriarch Wan Cheng rushing out from the Wan clan's residence. Wan Cheng looked at Lu Yiping who was sitting on the Taurus Longjiao, and his heart skipped a beat. He cupped his fists and forced a smile. "Master Lu, you've graced us with your presence. Wan Cheng has failed to welcome you from afar." "There's no need to welcome me from afar. Didn't Wan Wudi want to see me? Bring me to him," Lu Yiping said nonchalantly. Hearing Lu Yiping directly address their Wan clan's ancestor Wan Wudi by name, the Wan clan's grand elders and elders were enraged. The Wan clan's patriarch Wan Cheng frowned, but he suppressed the displeasure in his heart and nodded stiffly. "Master Lu, please follow me." Then he added, "But Master Lu, my father said that he will only see you. So I don't think this pet bull of yours needs to enter the ancestral land." How could the Wan clan's ancestral land be a place where a bull could enter as he wished? Lu Yiping glanced at the Wan clan's patriarch Wan Cheng. "What if I insist on bringing Xiao Jin in?" Chapter 59. The head of the Wan family, Wan Cheng, was extremely unhappy. An ancestor who had rushed over from the Wan family's ancestral land heard this and his face sank. Lu Yiping had come to Tian capital, to the Wan family's main residence, and yet he dared to act so arrogantly in front of them. When he arrived, his face sank as he said to Lu Yiping, "Lu Yiping, my ancestor is the master of the Xunwu continent. It is your great honor to meet you. Even the Big Dipper Emperor Zhou Dingtian can't meet our ancestor. Do you think that your pet bull has the right to do so?" At this moment Taurus Longjiao grinned and stomped on the ground with its thick bull leg. Boom! The entire Tian capital seemed to have suffered a heaven-shaking blow, and it shook violently as if it would fall from the peak of Sun Moon Mountain at any moment. Powerhouses from all over the city were strolling, drinking, and chatting when the city suddenly shook violently. Everyone was shocked and stopped what they were doing. The Wan family's head, Wan Cheng, and the rest were all sent flying by the invisible shockwave, including the Wan family's ancestor. Taurus Longjiao snorted at the head of the Wan family, Wan Cheng. "If not for my master giving face to Wan Beibei, Wan Wudi wouldn't even have the right to kneel in front of him. How dare you say that it's your honor to meet my master? Do you think that my master is someone that anyone can meet just because they want to? Zhou Dingtian? Who does Zhou Dingtian think he is? How can he compare to this ancestor? Wan Wudi? Who does Wan Wudi think he is? No matter how big his bird is, it's still trash in front of this ancestor. This ancestor can blow his bird apart with a single breath. Taurus Longjiao's voice was very loud, and it spread to every corner of the Wan family's ancestral land and even to the sky above Tian capital. Everyone in the city looked at each other in dismay. Many of the family's experts were stunned. Who is this? One of the family heads stuttered. There was actually someone who dared to say that he could blow away the master of the Shenwu continent, Lord Wan Wudi, with a single breath. At this time, a dignified voice rang out from the ancestral land. Invite Master Lu in. It was Wan Wudi's voice. The Wan family's patriarch, Wan Cheng, and the rest of the Wan family's patriarchs crawled to their feet, looking at Taurus Longjiao in shock and anger. Master Lu, please. The Wan family's patriarch, Wan Cheng, had mixed feelings as he spoke. Taurus Longjiao laughed coldly. What? That junior Wan Wudi is too ashamed to meet my master. Tell him to come out personally. How dare you? At this time within the Wan family's ancestral land, Wan Wudi's voice rang out once more. His voice shook the entire Tiandu city. Anyone could hear that Wan Wudi was enraged. A golden fist shot out from the Wan clan's ancestral ground, heading straight for Taurus Longjiao and Lu Yiping. This golden fist was burning with golden flames. The golden fist tore through the air, and everywhere it passed, space trembled. The terrifying power that could destroy heaven and earth made everyone in Tiandu City terrified. This is the power of a god. Lord Wan Wudi has broken through to the heavenly god realm. Within the city, an ancestor cried out in alarm. Out of 10,000 gods, it was difficult for one to break through to become a true god, and for a true god to break through to become a god was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Of the Hengyuan Plain's top 10 experts, only the top 3 were true gods. How difficult was it to break through to the celestial realm? Even Wan Wudi, the master of Shenwu continent, had only been a peak late-stage true god. Taurus Longjiao sneered as he looked at the gold-flame divine fist. He opened his mouth and blew. Suddenly the gold-flame divine fist, which was as powerful as a mountain, exploded in midair. When the gold-flame divine fist exploded, its destructive power swept across the land. The Wan family's experts fled in fear. Even Wan Cheng, the Wan family's patriarch, fled in fear. When he fled, he looked around and saw that all the buildings near the Wan family's main residence had been reduced to dust. Wan Cheng looked at Taurus Longjiao, his heart in turmoil. It had really exploded in one breath. Was this bull a celestial? The bull Lu Yiping was sitting on was actually a celestial. Just like his father, it was a supreme celestial. The Wan family's experts were even more terrified. Inside the ancestral land, Wan Wudi, who had just attacked, was pushed back several miles by the power of the golden flame divine fist. Wan Wudi stopped, his face full of shock and disbelief. Suddenly, the space above the Wan family's ancestral land was torn apart by an invisible force. A blue-robed youth riding a golden bull descended from the sky. Wan Wudi forcefully suppressed the shock in his heart. The other 70 or so ancestors of the Wan family nervously gathered behind Wan Wudi, looking at Lu Yiping and Taurus Longjiao as if they were facing a great enemy. Lu Yiping looked at Wan Wudi indifferently. You wanted me to come to the Wan family's ancestral land, because you wanted to use the ancestral root's power to suppress me, and obtain the true copy of the gold flame divine fist? I allow you to use the ancestral root's power, and all of you can attack together. As long as you can take a punch with 1/1000th of my strength, I'll give you the true copy. Wan Wudi's face turned ugly hearing this. What did this Lu Yiping just say? A punch with 1/1000th of his strength. Wan Wudi sucked in a deep breath, suppressing the anger in his heart. Fine, we'll take a punch with 1/1000th of your strength. With that said, Wan Wudi flew to the center of the ancestral land. A bright light shone from his body as heavenly god realm energy poured out from his body. The other Wan family's ancestors also gathered behind Wan Wudi. Using a secret technique, they poured their god force into Wan Wudi's body. With all the Wan family's ancestors' god force pouring into him, Wan Wudi's body glowed even brighter, like a golden Buddha. Wan Wuti and the others' god force poured into the Wan family's ancestral land like destructive waves. Under the guidance of Wan Wuti and the others' god force, a surge of energy rushed out from the depths of the ancestral land. The Wan family's ancestral roots power was finally awakened by Wan Wuti and the others. Wave after wave of Wan family's ancestral roots power poured out endlessly, pouring into Wan Wuti's body. With the Wan family's ancestors' god force pouring into him, Wan Wuti's aura was already rising steadily. Now that he had the Wan family's ancestral roots power, his aura skyrocketed. In the end, Wan Wuti's aura reached a peak. Only then did Lu Yiping punch out. It was the same Golden Flame's fist. However, when Lu Yiping punched out, millions of rays of light gathered in the Golden Flame's fist. Wan Wuti and the others had never seen such a resplendent Golden Flame's fist. Ancestral roots power. Break for me. Wan Wuti punched out madly in fear. The Wan family's primordial ancestors' power and the Wan family's ancestors' god force gathered in his fists as he met Lu Yiping's Golden Flame's fist head-on. Boom! With a loud explosion, heaven and earth shook. The Wan family's ancestral land twitched violently. Chapter 60. In the end, Wan Wuti and the rest failed to break through Lu Yiping's Golden Flame fist. Lu Yiping's Golden Flame fist tore through Wan Wuti and the Wan family's ancestors like a hot knife through butter. The fist did not stop there, plowing through the space above the Wan family's ancestral land for several hundred li before it finally stopped. Even so, the space where the fist tore through was still trembling, and the Golden Flame still lingered in the air. Lu Yiping's Golden Flame Divine Fist's power seemed to be imprinted in the air forever. Wan Wuti was sent flying, slumping to the ancestral land's ground, covered in blood. He stared at Lu Yiping with disbelief and shock in his eyes. He joined forces with more than 70 Wan family's ancestor strength and the Wan family's ancestral roots power, yet he still failed to block Lu Yiping's fist. He found it hard to believe. Who are you? He looked at Lu Yiping in fear. Was this Lu Yiping really from the Jiuqian continent? Lu Yiping did not answer. He slowly walked over, and with a wave of his hand, the Wan family's ancestral roots power gushed out from the ground. The ancestral roots power turned into flying dragons, circling around Lu Yiping. Wan Wuti and the Wan family's ancestors' eyes widened in shock. You can actually control my Wan family's ancestral roots power? Wan Wuti exclaimed in shock. Wasn't their Wan family's ancestral roots power something that only the Wan family's patriarchs knew how to control? Moreover, only those with the Wan family's bloodline could control the Wan family's ancestral roots power. Neither could be missing. This Lu Yiping, an outsider, could actually control their Wan family's ancestral roots power. Lu Yiping said nonchalantly, "It's just the Wan family's ancestral roots power." He casually raised his hand, and the Tiandu city trembled. Rays of divine light soared to the sky. The sky above Tiandu city was filled with the light of the gods. Everyone in the city was forced to prostrate themselves on the ground, including Zhou Chang and his donkey. Even Wan Wuti and the ancestors of the Wan clan were forced to prostrate themselves on the ground. Wan Wuti, along with the other patriarchs of the Wan clan, was lying on the ground, their eyes filled with shock. Not only was Lu Yiping able to control their Wan clan's ancestral root power, but he was also able to control the celestial capital's myriad god power. The celestial capital was created by the Master of Myriad Gods. Inside the city, the Master of Myriad Gods and the gods under his command reinforced the divine power. Other than the Master of Myriad Gods, no one in the future could control the divine power of the celestial capital. Even he, the master of the Shenwu continent, could not do so. He had studied it bitterly for countless years, but to no avail. However, Lu Yiping was able to activate the power of the myriad gods in Tiandu City, with just a wave of his hand. Within Tiandu City, the sloppy Zhou Chang, who had been forced to prostrate under the pressure of the gods, was shocked. Could it be that Wan Wuti has finally comprehended the celestial capital's secret? He has activated the power of the myriad gods in the city. The experts of the Luo Yun and Chan families all cried out in alarm, "Quick, report to the patriarch. Wan Wuti has already gained control of the celestial capital's myriad gods." Wan Wudi gaining control of the celestial capital's myriad gods was a huge matter for the Xinwu continent, and even the entire Hengyuan plain. Within Tiandu City, the power of the gods surged. Finally, it condensed into the souls of powerful ancient gods in the sky above the city. These ancient gods' souls all prostrated themselves before Lu Yiping, who was in the Wan clan's ancestral land. Outside the ancestral land, the other experts could not see that they were facing Lu Yiping, but within the ancestral land, Wan Wudi and the ancestors of the Wan clan were stunned. These ancient gods' souls were actually prostrating themselves before Lu Yiping. Why? Was it because Lu Yiping had gained control of the celestial capital's myriad gods? Even if Lu Yiping had gained control of the celestial capital's myriad gods' power, there was no need for these ancient god souls to prostrate themselves before Lu Yiping, right? Unless Lu Yiping was the master of myriad gods. However, the master of myriad gods had long since fallen. In that case, who was Lu Yiping? Who exactly are you? Wan Wudi trembled as he asked. Lu Yiping waved his hand, and all of the divine power in Tiandu City dissipated. All of the ancient gods' souls also gradually dissipated, and everything returned to normal. Only then did the pressure that had been weighing down on everyone's hearts disappear. Didn't your Wan clan's progenitor, Wan Bei, tell you who taught her the gold flame god fist? Lu Yiping glanced at Wan Wudi with his hands behind his back. Our progenitor? Wan Wudi and the rest of the Wan clan's ancestors felt as if they were struck by lightning. You are? Wan Wudi's eyes widened in shock as he stared at Lu Yiping in disbelief. Could Lu Yiping be the progenitor? Lu Yiping tossed a token to Wan Wudi, but it wasn't the same token he had given to Yang Cheng at the Lei Kei Sword School. Wan Wudi caught the token, and when he saw the token clearly, his hands trembled. The token in his hands felt as heavy as a chaos mountain. The Wan clan's ancestors also saw the token clearly, and all of them trembled in fear. Wan clan's descendant, Wan Wudi, greets Lord. Wan Wudi's face was ashen as he prostrated himself on the ground, trembling with excitement, reverence, and fear. The Wan clan's ancestors didn't dare to hesitate, and they all prostrated themselves on the ground, not daring to breathe. Wan Wudi prostrated himself on the ground, and when he saw that Lu Yiping hadn't spoken for a long time, his forehead dripped with cold sweat. His voice trembled as he said, Wan Wudi didn't know that Lord had descended upon this world. I was blind to have offended Lord, and I deserved to die. After a long time, just when Wan Wudi thought that he was going to die, Lu Yiping's cold voice rang out. Get up. Wan Wudi was startled, and then he stood up. However, the Wan clan's ancestors didn't dare to stand up. Wan Bei, when did you leave the eternity plane? Lu Yiping asked. Wan Wudi hadn't expected Lu Yiping to suddenly ask such a question, and his entire body tensed up. He hurriedly thought back and replied, Lord Progenitor left about 300,000 years ago. Lu Yiping then asked about Wan Bei and Xinwu continent, as well as some other matters regarding the eternity plane. Outside, the Wan family's head, Wan Cheng, and young master Wan Hong did not know what was going on in the ancestral land, and they were all apprehensive. I wonder what's going on in the ancestral land right now? Wan Cheng frowned, deeply worried. Father, don't worry. With the support of our ancestral root, even Jiangyu from the extreme celestial sect can only retreat. Young Master Wan Hong said. No matter how strong Lu Yiping and that bull are, they won't be a match for grandfather and the others. Wan Cheng recalled how Taurus Longjiao had destroyed the gold flame divine fist with a single breath, but he shook his head and didn't say anything. At this time, Wan Wudi's voice rang out from within the ancestral land. No one in the Wan family is allowed to spread what happened today. If anyone dares to mention a single word, I will personally execute the Wan family's laws. His voice was dignified and filled with killing intent. Everyone trembled and hurriedly acknowledged his words. Wan Cheng, Wan Hong, come in, Wan Wudi said. Wan Cheng was puzzled, but he and young master Wan Hong entered the ancestral land together. As soon as they entered, they saw Lu Yiping from afar. They saw Wan Wudi and the Wan family's ancestors. But when they saw the Wan family's ancestors prostrating on the ground, their eyes widened. What was going on?